Okay. Welcome, one and all, to yet another episode of WIC TV. It's a cross-ideological space where we come together to talk about issues both political and cultural, from the silly to the serious. And gang, we got a great show for you today. It should be fun. So, I guess to start, I'm just gonna let Visora kind of introduce what she wants here. She talked to me in DMs earlier about wanting to do a show where she advocates that the government, through Medicare, Medicaid, some kind of socialist healthcare program, uh, funds sex workers or compensates sex workers for their job, I guess, pays, like, subsidizes them. But I'm going to let her explain it. I'm going to let her go first. It should be an interesting topic. It's not something I've thought of a lot. Quibbles here very disagrees with this. So it should be a fun discussion. Visora, open us up. What are your thoughts? Sell this to us. Go
Cool.
ahead.
Well, first of all, nice to meet you, Quibbles, as well as hello to everybody in your guys' chats. So, my thoughts on this are pretty simple. Sex work is, when we talk about it, when we use the word sex work, we should start by first talking about what kind of society do we want to live in? Do we want to live in a society where people are vulnerable to violence, where people are censored, where people are criminalized, or do we want to live in a society that values safety, dignity, public health? Honestly, like for me, that it really just comes down to the moral decision of this is just better for people. Increases public health. This increases public safety. This reduces violence. This reduces rape, assault, etc. But just some actual statistic examples. In Rhode Island, from 2004 to 2009, there was a 31% reduction in rapes following the decriminalization of indoors sex work, brothels, basically. This was 824 fewer rapes in that time period. At that same time, there was a 39% reduction in cases of gonorrhea. The public health aspect of it is not just physical, it goes into the mental as well, but the physical can't be ignored because that 39% of gonorrhea isn't just in sex workers, it's also in the people that, you know, use them necessarily. In New Zealand, following the Prostitution Reform Act of 2003, this gave sex workers the ability to use law enforcement to report abusers, rapists, people that were stealing their wages without fear of repercussions. This also improved public safety. It increased public trust because there was significant decline in community complaints towards sex workers, especially street sex workers. Now, beyond that, there's also the idea that factoring in mental health on top of physical exponentially increases the benefits of something like this, because think about what mental health could mean. We're talking about isolation. We're talking about depression, suicidal people. We have a loneliness epidemic. We have men and women who are lonely, who don't socialize, who haven't felt intimacy with other human beings in a very long time. And this tends to result in violence. This results in, whether it's domestic violence, because this does also tie into domestic violence, but public terrorism, for example. People like Matt Berger, what was his name? The guy who did the bombing in Vegas. He had PTSD. He came, back from his deployment. He was still active military. The Trump Cybertruck bomber guy, can't remember his full name, but he was active military. He had PTSD. He talked to his girlfriend a week before this bombing, explaining how he felt, how lonely he was. They couldn't do anything about it because we don't teach men, especially young boys, that it's okay to be intimate. And like when you say young boys in the context of we're talking about sex work, that does ring a few alarm bells. But I would say they don't need to be specifically sex workers. You can say, oh, like you have this very autistic child who can't touch anybody, can't have physical touch, can't hug their mom. So you can have a safe way of, I don't know, bring them to a clinic and there's a technically sex worker, but they're not having sex with the kid. It's sessions of, hey, well, like, let's hold hands for a little bit. It's teaching people to be physically intimate in both a sexual context, but both in just a regular social context, hugging your friends. Just, I don't know, these things are normal to me. And it's maybe that's a cultural thing because I am Turkish, but I grew up in America and I've seen this. People, where they're talking about right now that it's gay to have sex with your wife if it's not for procreation. That's where the headspace of some of the like the incel community is. And these people are depressed, they're isolated, they're mentally ill,
Okay.
and they could benefit from something like this. And that's where I'm going to leave it with that one.
Okay. Well, thank you for being here. A lot of things we got brought up. I do want to focus specifically for the
That's just
debate
the
on
opening statement, you know.
basically the government funded sex workers for Medicare, Medicaid, socialized healthcare.
Mhm.
But all these things are worth touching on. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate you. Quibbles, okay? Quibbles, who is what? Just before you go, right? Quibbles is one of the more eloquent speakers that I've had, and I reached out to him because I trust him and I trust him to do a good job here. So thank you, Quibbles, for being here. I do appreciate you. Quibbles,
Okay.
go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So virtually all of what you just said was about the men's perspective, about the John's perspective, and about the impacts that it has on lonely men. So I think that there's sort of a couple of different questions that are part of this conversation. The first is the question of like, is sex a necessity for a healthy life? And beyond that, is it medically beneficial potential without being a necessity? That's one part of the question. There's another question which is sort of built into your framework, which is, must the government pay for everything that's necessary for a healthy life? There's another question which is sort of about the prostitute side. It's a question of like, is prostitution rape? Is being paid for access to your holes the only or the best option, strictly from the
Sorry, could
prostituted
you
person's
repeat that last
perspective?
bit? I didn't hear that. Could you repeat your last point?
Yeah,
Sorry.
is being paid for access to your holes the only and or best option, strictly from the prostituted person's perspective, setting aside the impact on the man? And then there's a dual question, which is sort of, is it in the benefit of the man who is purchasing access to those holes, or in this case, having paid for by the government access to those holes, in the case of a person who is not actually interested in having sex with them? So those are sort of a bunch of different questions. I want to touch a little bit before we
I
get
just want to
into it
add
more.
one thing there
Yeah.
because it's not just state funded. I also think that private health insurance should cover this. I think that this should be included in
Okay.
all of healthcare, whether it's
Fine.
universal,
Regardless.
Medicare, Medicaid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the question. So yes, there's a question of the governmental, but that's a different question. The question that I'm trying to set up there, which is a question of setting aside how it's paid for. Is it good for men to be having sex with women who don't want to have sex with them? Now, I also want to touch before we start on this idea of both the Vegas bomber and also this idea of the autistic child. So I take issue with the idea of the autistic child who's being taught by a therapist to be able to deal with intimacy and be able to hug their own mother is sexual. I think
It
that there's a
doesn't have to
lot that is about, well, if I can finish, there's a lot about intimacy that I think is important and that we should be teaching people about, but I don't think that all intimacy is sexual intimacy. And I think that the most important intimacy is ultimately a non-sexual form of intimacy.
be. I totally agree
Um,
with you there.
yeah.
So I guess to start, right, and this will be just an open back and forth, right? Just feel free to just jump in whenever's. Um, what are some of the potential benefits you see? Why, if someone is lonely, if there's a man who's lonely, right, who is feeling a lack of intimacy, why will sex work benefit that man? Go ahead.
First of all, I just want to respond to some of what Quibbles said because it ties into why it
By all means.
benefits the man, because it's not just about the man here. You said that most of what I said was just from the man's perspective, but all
Mhm.
of this innately also benefits the women. The reduction in sexual assault, rape, 31% reduction, for example, the reduction in STIs by just the decriminalization,
Yeah.
not even like adding it into that.
I just want
All
to
of
clarify, when you say it helps the women, do you mean the women whose holes are being purchased, or do you
it
mean the
helps
women whose holes are not being purchased?
It helps the entire community. This is a
So it helps.
beneficial thing for
So hold on.
everybody.
Let's just. Okay. So you're saying that there are positive externalities associated with setting aside a certain subset of women to be chronically sexually violated by
That is not
people
what
that
I'm
they don't
saying.
actually want to have sex with
That's not what I'm
on behalf of
saying.
other women.
So, no. First of all, let's take America for an example. The United States is a big country. We have various different laws. Let's take Rhode Island out of the picture, a state where sex work is entirely illegal. There are still sex workers that do this because they have no other option financially. First, just and foremost, the option to be able to do sex work is something that saves people's lives. It literally allows women to get out of abusive relationships, to escape danger. It is also not something that people only do because they have no other option. Some people like to just do sex work. Now, I'm not saying anyone should be, set aside and put into like a caste system. I don't want to create the escort class. But I do think that this is beneficial to an entire community if implemented in the correct
Okay.
way. There would need to
So
be
I just want to. I want to separate out like the question of, is this good for the women who aren't having sex with the
Yes,
Johns that they don't want to have sex with? Wait, hold on, let me
yes.
frame the
Oh,
question.
sorry. You said
There's
separated
two
out.
questions here. There's two questions here. One question is it good for um, upper middle class women who are not the ones who are in these positions, who are not actually having sex with these Johns who they don't want to have sex with? That's a separate question, though, than the question of, is it in the interest of the women themselves who are being chronically sexually used for the pleasure of people who don't care about their own pleasure,
I don't
right?
like the way that you're rhetoricizing that. It's chronically used. You're doing your job. It's
Yes,
just going to work.
your job being you are being sexually used by people who
Okay.
don't care about your sexual
What
pleasure.
if you work in a factory, you're being physically used by people who don't care about your physical health?
I don't think
That's
that
a
working at a
silly
factory is
argument.
the same,
I think that's a silly
right?
argument to make because people enjoy having sex and not necessarily that like the sex workers don't
Wait,
necessarily
wait, wait, wait,
want
wait,
to
wait,
have
wait, wait.
sex with all of
People
their jobs.
enjoy. What do you mean by people enjoy having sex? What does that mean?
Like what I
Well,
said, I'm
you
not saying
see.
everyone
Okay.
enjoys all sex.
When you say people enjoy having sex,
I'm saying
there's a
sex is a
snuck
part
premise
of the
there.
human
People
experience.
enjoy no. There's a snuck premise there. People enjoy having sex with people that they want to have sex with, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
People really don't enjoy having sex with people that they don't want to have sex with,
Yes,
right?
I know.
Okay.
Yes. And guess what?
So
If you have a
yeah.
regulated system, let me finish. If you have a regulated system, then you get to, I don't know, have a website where you can go pick which one you want. They can decline, first of all. Secondly, on top of this, if the sex worker doesn't want to go and have sex with that person, they won't.
Mhm.
Someone else will. You know what makes people happy? You know what gives people joy other than sex? Money. Being able to pay rent, for example, being able to afford food, being able to feed your kids, being able to travel, being able to live. These are
Should I be
important
able to
things.
pay? Should I be able to pay to use other people's bodies in any way that I want?
If they consent to it, yeah.
Literally any way that I
If
want to use their
they're
body.
consenting to it, then yes.
So
I'm a libertarian,
I want to. So
so
okay, someone is desperately impoverished. They're living on the street, and I want to pay to shit in their mouth.
that is shitty of you to do, but I think they should be allowed to say, no, you can do it and take your money. I think the person
Why is
whose
it
mouth
shitty? Why is it shitty of me to do?
because you're in the position of power and you're abusing it. But this is a different context
Wait,
because
how
we're
am I
not
abusing it?
talking because you're the one that has the money and wants to shit in some
Right, but
poor person's mouth
it's not
instead.
abusive. Okay, let's set it. Let's
No,
set
no,
a
hold
different
on,
example.
hold on, hold on, hold on,
One at a time,
Wait,
one at
wait,
a time.
let's
Right?
Hold
set
on.
This is
Both of you, both of you,
this.
both of you.
let's set a different example.
Okay, you'll listen to me. Let's let Vasora finish her framing of her position, and then you can respond to it. I have some
Yeah,
questions too
sure.
because
These
I
are
think.
two
But
entirely
go ahead.
different moral arguments that we're having. You're having the moral argument of whether it's oppressive of the like to the women to have this system. And I'm arguing that it is unoppressive if it's consensual and implemented correctly, and it would be oppressive to prevent it. Now, am I saying that this is a perfect system? Is it a silver bullet that solves everything? Fuck no. There's a lot of other issues that need to be worked on too. But I'm arguing here that just implementing this system would lead to a reduction in violence against all women, a reduction in
Again, you're doing that. It's not a, you're again bringing up this thing, which is not about the people who are actually involved in the sex act. You're
You
talking
asked
about
me two
the
questions.
positive
You
on
said,
society.
one, is this
Yeah.
good for upper middle class women? Two, is this good for the women that are doing the sex work? Yes is
Yeah.
the answer to both.
Okay,
And
so your
beyond
answer.
that,
Okay,
yes
so I
is
want
the
to
answer
separate
to
them
both.
out though. This
Can you
question
let
was
me
about the
finish?
shitting in the mouth. I'm asking specifically.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, why am I a bad person for paying you to allow me to shit in your mouth? Why is that bad?
Because it's an entirely different moral framework.
No, why is it bad for me to do that?
Because you don't need to shit in someone's mouth.
I don't need to
Whereas
have
the
sex
people,
with you.
well, that's the thing. A lot of these men do, because
Can I
otherwise they
ask,
go and do mass
if I may?
shootings.
Sure.
Take
Hold on.
Elliot Rogers.
Wait, I'm sorry.
Just real
Wait,
quick.
wait, hold on.
No, hold on.
Wait,
Both of you stop, because now I have a question.
Yeah.
Is sex, in your view, Visora, is sex necessary for a healthy
Absolutely.
life? Do you agree with that or disagree
I
with that?
can't
Quibbles?
stop from killing people if I don't have sex. That's specifically the claim that you just made.
No, that's not the claim that I made. I said there are people who are isolated, depressed, and lonely that are
Who
radicalized,
can't stop them
who
from
get
killing people.
angry and blame women and then go kill people because
Okay.
of that.
Visora, I want specifically, will these people definitely go kill people unless they're able to use women's bodies when the women don't actually want to have sex with them and are only willing
If
to
they
do it
don't want to
if
have
they are
sex,
paid?
if they're being paid, they're consenting to it. It's not
Okay, if you're being paid to let me shit in your mouth, you're consenting to it. Why is it wrong
yes,
to shit in your mouth?
because there is a different moral framework between you wanting to shit in a poor person's mouth for fun and a healthcare system that may or may not prevent this guy from. Hold the fuck up. Let me fucking finish. You want to prevent incels from doing mass shootings, but on top of this, you want to prevent these women from getting raped. You want to prevent women that aren't doing sex work from also getting raped. You want to prevent domestic violence. You want to prevent
You're
the
just
spread
going
of
on the same
STDs.
parody.
Because you're
Why?
ignoring every single actual
I'm
point
not.
and
I'm
bringing it.
Hey, I love the energy, gang. I love the energy, but you gotta let her finish. You gotta let Quibbles. You can respond to it after. You gotta let her finish.
No, it's a very specific question that she's just obfuscating around, and it's very
Then
frustrating.
point that out when
literally
it's your
answered
turn.
it 4
Finish,
times.
yeah.
Ask one more time. What's the question
The
again?
question is
Why
very
is it
simple.
moral?
No, what is the moral distinction between having sex with someone who doesn't want to have sex with me, but is willing to have sex with me if I pay them, and shitting in someone's mouth who doesn't want me to shit in their mouth, but is willing to have me shit in their mouth if I pay them? Why is that different?
Shitting in someone's mouth has no other repercussions on society or the community, whereas like you having sex with somebody, if you're lonely and mentally ill, does have benefits on society. That's
Okay,
why.
so
Because
there's
of the
no
greater
way.
benefits.
There's no way that I'm mentally ill and have a gun and I'm like, listen, bud, I want to shit in people's mouths. And if I'm not allowed to shit in someone's mouth in the next 24 hours, I'm going to go kill people.
Do you think
That's
that's
never
how this
going to be a
works?
thing. That couldn't possibly
Do you
conceptually
think
happen.
that's how this works? Do you think that's how incels work? Do you think that's how
I think
Elliot
that
Rogers?
conceptually could happen. I think what I've
Take
just
Elliot
described.
Rogers for an example.
I think, Visora, I think what I've just described is someone who is obviously mentally ill. I think I've described someone who is obviously evil. I think I've described someone who's obviously a horrible person and probably belongs in jail. I also think that I have described someone that could conceptually exist in society. Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so if that person conceptually could exist in society, why is that person who could conceptually exist in society different than the person who could conceptually exist in a society who demands they have sex with women who don't want to have sex with them?
No one's demanding this, A. B, they're not different. They're both mentally ill. One benefits from this, one doesn't.
Wait, why do you benefit from it? Why don't I benefit from it when I want to shit in someone's mouth? I really like watching people be shot into.
You shitting in someone's mouth benefits you personally in this instance. It benefits the guy who's getting his mouth shot in because he gets paid personally. But it has.
I don't think it's benefiting him, to be clear.
Well, he's getting paid. He's benefiting under
the system. I don't think it's benefiting him, though.
No, obviously it's oppressive, and I think that it's bad. But I think he's getting something out of it, regardless. It's not. You're not just using somebody non-consensually. They are agreeing. It's a different context, but. The real difference here is the greater social outcomes that come from this. you shitting in this guy's mouth isn't changing anything in society. It's not helping other people. Whereas
It's not
the
supposed to.
availability of a doctor to prescribe
Wait, why
sex
are you
work to
getting in the
somebody,
way of why? I don't understand what you're getting in the way of this. I
I'm
want
not
to shit in his
really.
mouth.
Go do it.
I
Have fun.
want to shit in his mouth, and he's willing to let me shit in his mouth.
Then do it.
And okay, so your answer is yes, I should do it.
Well, I'm saying
Your answer
it'd
says
be
no
like
moral
morally wrong of
implications.
you, but no,
Why
I'm
is it
saying it'd be
morally?
more. I just explained that about 7
Okay.
times because it only benefits
We
you
are
personally.
sure. Hold
Okay,
on. We're
no,
looping.
okay,
We're looping.
let me
We're
lay, let
looping.
me
Oh
lay
my
it out.
god!
Wait, can I
Please.
lay it out? Can I lay it out?
Can you lay it
Sure.
out
I
quickly?
want like
Then we gotta
like
move
a
on.
minute and
We
a half
gotta
to lay
address
it
a
out
different angle.
uninterrupted.
Please.
Okay, cool.
Absolutely.
The problem is that in both the case of me using someone's holes in a way that they don't want to but are willing to accept in exchange for money because they're desperately impoverished or otherwise desperate for money, in the same way that I'm doing that and they're willing to accept it, they're also willing to accept it in the case that I want to shit in their mouth, right? But both cases are strictly about me. I do not care about, or in fact, at some level, I do care about, and I'm enjoying the misery that I am placing upon the person whose mouth I'm shitting into, or the person whose holes I'm violating. Right? That is the purpose. And so, in both cases, I am morally wrong to do so, quite obviously.
If that's your moral cause, then yeah, absolutely, I agree.
Okay, so but I'm asking, that's like those seem to me to be one to one. So
Quibbles,
parse
can
the
I ask
difference.
you?
My
I have a
request.
question for you,
Yeah,
Quibbles. Quibbles, do you think everyone who engages with a sex worker is doing it because they want to they get off and enjoy the misery of the sex worker? Do you think that's
I don't think that every single one of them gets off sexually to the
or
misery of this
enjoys it or
of a
it's part of the
prostitute,
experience
but
or
I think that they're all willing to accept the fact that they are fully aware that they cannot be aware of whether or not the person is comfortable in the environment.
okay. Visora, this is a question for you, right? Um, do you think, right, if the health of men, right, if their mental health or whatever is reliant on regular or at least consistent access to sex, why stop at state-funded sex workers or having a medical professional? Why not simply have the state mandate that there are a certain amount, like each community, each town, each state has a certain amount of sex workers on hand to see to the needs of their populace?
Because that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that the needs of, like, the sexual needs of men are not reliant on sex, but what's happening is there is a movement of men who are angry at their lack of sex and they are being extreme. They are being radicalized every day by people like Nick Fuentes, by people like Andrew Tate, teaching them to hate women using the idea of women withhold sex from you as a tool. Removing that tool will mentally benefit these men. It will help them feel less isolated, but also, this is an issue that also affects women. Women also feel isolated.
Wait, can we stop
Women,
there?
no, we can't. I'm not done yet. This also affects women in both that women use sex workers as well. They also hire them, not at as high rates, but they do.
Oh,
And
I
on
know.
top of this, again, there is the healthcare aspect that goes into this. All of these people are at risk of STIs, STDs, whatever you like to call them. And having a regulated system, A, reduces this. B, the having the actual system of there is an insurance company that pays for this, there is Medicare that pays for this, there is a government body that makes sure that the system is functional and that people aren't being abused and exploited. All of these things go into this conversation, but you also have to understand that this has such greater implications outside of it. Look at Belgium, look at the Netherlands, look at
Wait, no,
Germany.
that's not.
they the reduction in sex trafficking. Oh, Quibbles
Oh,
froze.
Quibbles, are you there? Quibbles, oh no! Quibbles, no! Oh, they got him.
whatever they want for
Oh, here we
purposes
go.
of sexual.
You cut out. Hold on, Quibbles.
Yeah, you cut out.
No one could
Oh,
hear what you
can
were
you hear me
saying.
again?
You're
Yeah,
back.
we
Can you
didn't
hear me
hear
again?
what you said. But let
Yeah,
me
can you hear me again?
just reiterate the last thing that I said. Yes, we can hear you again, which is
Okay, cool.
a reduction in sex trafficking. I don't want people to be abused. I don't think that any system that implements abuse is right. I think there should be ways, as you noted, sometimes the person does not want to have sex with the John. I think that there should be systems that make sure that that doesn't happen by force. But beyond
Okay.
that, I'll leave it to you.
Okay, so I apologize. I have to mess with something on my computer again. Okay, so my question to that is, should we give extremist groups whatever they want for sexual equality? So the obvious implication of that is like there are men who are
And you're frozen again.
right. So should Belinda specifically, for purposes of equality, be made to have sex with these men because they demand to have sex with Belinda?
You froze again.
And now you're sideways.
Yes.
Yeah. Should, for purposes of equality, right? You can hear me again?
Yeah, we
Yes.
can hear you again.
Okay. For purposes of equality, you claimed that there's this group of desperate men who are creating a movement because they want to have sex. So then my response to that is, should we make, in order to deal with that movement, in order to push back by giving what they want to that movement, should they, if they desire specifically to have sex with Belinda, be able to have access to Belinda's holes and Belinda's body in order to ensure that they're not becoming sexist against Belinda and the specific woman, right?
First of all, that's not how this works. They're not building a movement because they want to have sex. They're building a movement that just says women are lesser. I'm sure a lot of you can agree with this. Andrew Tate hates women. He's an open and avowed misogynist.
He's also a sex trafficker who
He's
is
also
really
a sex
involved in
trafficker and a
prostitution.
rapist.
Yeah.
And yeah, absolutely, yes. So
yeah.
These people have followings, and people, especially young people, look up to them, and then they see indications around their own lives with how adults deal with women, what they see on television, what they get in the media. The media has
you're not answering my question. I'm sorry.
getting there.
It's becoming frustrating that you're not actually answering the question.
I'm literally answering your question.
I want you to answer the question.
Should they have sex with Belinda? Is your question, right?
Yes. So answer that part.
Yes.
Answer that question. Yeah.
I'm not going to answer your question before getting to all the bullshit that you said before it. You narrativized who they
I
are.
said a very specific one.
You said that question. You said A, equality is what I'm looking for, which is not. B, that there is men creating a movement
equality,
because
gender
they want
equality
to.
Is that what you're looking for?
That's not what this is about. That's not what this conversation has anything to do with. And I never mentioned the word
gender equality.
I never once mentioned this word, and you're putting it in my mouth.
Okay, so
what did I say?
Are you in support of gender equality? Is that a goal of yours?
I'm in support of equity.
Okay,
I'm actually a gender abolitionist, really. I'm actually a gender abolitionist, but
of gender equity, and you're at.
I don't believe in gender. I just want people to have health care. I want people to not be raped. I want people to not have to get STDs because their husband went and cheated on them and then got an STD. I want people to not.
Back to the question. Do you believe that because there's a group of.
Contextually.
It depends contextually. The answer is no. If they want to have sex with Belinda, Belinda does not have an obligation to have sex with them.
No, obviously not. If Belinda says no, that's the context.
Okay, cool. So I'm asking why, in the case of Belinda specifically doesn't want to have sex with them.
Yes.
Why, if she doesn't have to, are you comfortable having this subclass of women who are used, exploited, their bodies are put on sale, for rent rather, not sale.
By choice? Yes.
Excuse me?
By choice? Consensually? With systems in place to prevent
by
abuse?
Choice. Okay, so the claim is that it is by choice. So then
no, it's by choice is a weird way to put it because choice has other things on top of it, economic reasons.
Just a little bit of a housekeeping thing. Hold on, just a little bit of a housekeeping thing.
I should have defined choice better.
I understand. I will, Fair enough. But we have this weird thing on Discord where you are like 2 minutes behind on my Discord, but I see you doing fine on her Discord, and I don't know what's going on. Do you mind jumping out of the call and jumping back in? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I got you.
Just because this is wildly tripping me out.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay, sorry about that.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, give her. I don't know why this is a thing, but Pebbles.
Hello, 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 hello.
Okay, you're back. Okay, we're back into real
Alright, cool, we're
time
back.
now. Okay, we're in normal time now. We are. Okay, I'm frustrated because this is going in circles, I feel, and I really want to get to the roots of the issue here. So I'm going to ask. I'm going to try to get us back a little bit on track here. When we talk about government
Wait,
funded
can we talk about what consent
let
means?
hold on.
I want to talk about. Okay.
Hold on. Hold on. Give me a second. Thank you. Okay. I want to talk about a couple things that have been brought up, right? The claim is that in order to have a healthy, mentally stable life, sex is beneficial to that, and thus there should be some sort of subsidy for people who lack sex to be able to get sex through Medicare, Medicaid, whatever social program you want to use here.
Or private healthcare.
Or private healthcare, right? That should be covered. The question to that, your claim is that people like Andrew Tate are devaluing women, right? That women are more devalued with this. Do you not see how perhaps, possibly, by having a state kind of sponsored program like this, that would also devalue women?
No, I think in fact it would do the opposite. It would give women autonomy and an ability to proudly indicate by reducing stigma that they are a sex worker. It would reduce harassment that these people get. And on top of this, I don't necessarily think that it's just the devaluing of women that is the problem. Andrew Tate does devalue women, but that's not what causes the violence. That's just step by step in the radicalization of people who watch Andrew Tate. Having the ability to feel intimacy without fear will reduce people like his reach. Like people like Nick Fuentes' reach. Hate comes from insecurity.
I don't know.
From lack,
They're trying to
fear.
paint all
Okay.
women as sex workers, right?
I
That's
know,
their
Right.
they
their
are.
message, that all women are sex workers. So when you say that, hey, this specific group of women
Having a
are
lower
kind of
class,
sex workers,
and that's a
I don't.
solution.
I
Yeah.
just Anyway,
Okay.
but give it to
Let's
Quibbles.
talk
Go
about
ahead.
what. Okay. What is consent?
Consent is whether you agree to something or not.
Whether you agree to something.
Whether you want to do something and you say yes, whether you agree to do something, really. It's not even about want. You can consent
Okay.
to something
Whether
you don't want to do.
you agree to do something
Yes.
is your definition of consent. Okay. I have. We're on a spaceship right now. Okay. And I have captured all of the air. I've sucked it away. And unless I give you back air, you will literally suffocate and die. Okay. And I say,
Okay.
do X, Y, and Z, right? Give me all of your money, or I won't give you back the air. Is that consent?
Oh no, this is
What you're
Coconut
trying,
Island. Okay.
no, I know what you're trying to say here, and I understand that concept of it's not consent if there is what's the word I'm looking for?
Coercion.
Yeah,
Coercive
coercive.
behavior.
If it's
Yeah.
coercive behavior, yes. And I think that that is coercive. I don't think that's consent.
Okay.
I don't think that applies to what I'm saying though.
Okay.
I think it could.
Okay.
It could.
Cool. Okay. So whether you agree to do something, that's the entire definition of consent. Is just whether or not you agree to do something. And so in the case that I just described, it was coercive.
Freely.
So
Freely agree to do something.
unless coerced. Okay. Unless coerced. Okay, cool. Casting couch
Yeah,
behavior.
knowingly and freely consenting. That's the better way to
Knowingly
say
and freely. Okay.
Well, let me ask you a question, Quibbles. Actually,
Wait. No, wait, stop.
Let him
Stop.
finish. Let people finish.
Let me finish. Okay. Okay. Casting couch behavior. What's your thoughts?
Casting couch behavior?
Yeah. You want a job? I have a penis. Suck my penis, you get the job.
If
Is that
it's
okay?
porn, that makes sense.
No, it's not porn. I'm saying I
Oh,
I
then
am
no,
a
of course
movie
not.
director. I'm a movie
Of course not.
director. Why is it not okay?
Because it's coercive.
Wait, what? Okay, what if it's I'm a movie director. I'm willing to, make you the head actor in my next movie, but first you have to be a recurring role that's like a smaller, minor character for this
There's a
movie in
power
order to do it.
dynamic here. You're
Yeah, there's a
talking
power
about
dynamic in what the second thing I described. I'm saying I have the ability to make you a lead, right? And so
Mhm.
you don't want to be a lower paid extra or whatever in this first movie, but you're willing to be in this lower role for a period of time, and in exchange, down the road, I'll give you a better role and I'll give you this better position, right?
I think if someone consents to that, knowing all of knowing all of this, then that's fine. I don't think it's
Okay,
good
casting
morally.
couch behavior is totally
I
fine.
don't think those systems
Let-
should need to
Hold
exist.
on. Let me
But
ask.
under our current context, I
Sure.
think that it is not the worst. Like, it is not immoral of the woman to make that
I think-
decision. Or
Wait, I'm not asking. Hold up. I'm not accusing a woman of doing anything immoral. That is not
Okay.
fair.
I
I'm
didn't
asking
say
whether
that you-
the
I didn't say
man
that
is
you
doing
did.
something immoral. Is the man doing something immoral?
I mean, yes.
Why?
But well, because it's coercive. Again, we're doing this in
In
circles.
both
It is
cases?
I don't think these systems should exist, but they do.
No,
And
hold
we are
on.
living
Both
in
of you
them.
stop, because this is an actual interesting point, but you're both gonna fuck this up. So let me try it for a little bit. So in
Please.
both scenarios there, right, where you have a man and he's like, I have a position available, and I'd love for you to be in this position, but you got to prove your worth, and so you got to go and you got to be a lesser actor for a while, star in lesser roles. Is that coercive?
You asking me?
Yes.
Of course.
Is that
I
coercion?
mean, no.
Okay.
Not really.
So why
Why
is
is
it
it not
coercive? Hold on, stop
coercive?
quibbles. So why is it coercive when I say, yeah, I have a position, I need you to fill it, but before you do that, I'm willing to let you fill it, but
I
you
need to
got to
fill
suck
you.
my dick first. Why is
Yeah.
that coercive and the second one isn't? Why is one coercive and one not? What's the difference fundamentally?
The difference is the consent. The difference is
No.
Sorry, could you repeat the first thing?
Sure.
that you said? 'Cause maybe
So
I
the first
misheard. I
one
might
is,
have
okay,
misheard it.
we have two
Let-
scenarios, okay?
Let me rehear that.
I'm like, hello, lady, how are you doing? I have a position. I'm a famous director. I have a position. You know what? I'm going to make you a star. I'm going to make you an actress, right? But before you do that, I need you to go around the office, get some coffee, right? I need you to go and be a gopher for a while. I need you to intern a little bit. You gotta show me your chops, right?
Mhm.
Is that coercive?
I mean, yes, but under the capitalist context, under our current
Okay, but
system,
it's-
like under my ideological context, it's all coercive. But under our current system, no, it's not.
What is that coercive in any fundamentally different way than me saying, hey, I'm a famous director, lady, I like you, I think you got what it takes, but you know what, I need my dick sucked,
Yes.
I'm going to go on a killing spree. And so that's,
Yes.
but what's the difference? Tell me the
there
difference
is
between
safety.
these.
The difference there is safety. The difference there is the risk of violence. The difference there is the shame and the stigma. Because in the first case, the first question that you asked, you're walking around, you're getting coffee, you're doing regular office work, right? In the second case, you're doing something that is very much stigmatized, that people get harassed for, that people that do, like, in the position of power, get outed for and be shamed for. But also the women constantly are.
Do you think that a
Accused,
government-funded
Kamala
sex
Harris.
worker is going to be stigmatized?
No, I think that's to reduce stigma. I think
So
that
if we
will
normalize
reduce
the
stigma.
process of having people that I wanted to be in my movies suck my dick before I let them in my movies, it'd be
That's
okay?
not how that works, though, because the sex
Why not?
workers are for healthcare. It's not just legal. It's not just sex workers for everybody, free game chaos. You have to have a reason, like a therapist, a doctor. Somebody has to recommend you to the program. If it's through private health insurance, then sure, any GP can do it. But
Wait, why is that specific?
Okay, no, but you
There's
said
just
you
one
want. You
thing-
said, hold on.
wait,
You
because
said
that was
a
my
couple
last point.
times.
You might
You said a couple.
Because
Stop
that was my
quibbles.
point.
You've said a couple times that you want this to be available through private insurance, correct?
yes,
Okay,
I
so
do want
any
that
general practitioner could do it. I could go to a doctor and
exactly.
say, you know what,
I just
doctor,
finished saying
I'm
that.
just feeling, I'm a little under the weather. I could really use a blowjob right now. Could you provide me with a sex worker, right, or
And the
maybe a
doctor should
coupon to
say-
give to my sex worker, right, to
And
suck my dick?
The doctor would have to find a valid reason that would have to be defined as are you suffering from mental illness? Are you depressed? Are you lonely? Are you isolated?
Why are you separating this out?
Hold on.
Because
How do
there are
you medically
regulations
define
in government.
loneliness?
Literally by just defining loneliness and then seeing if a person is like. So here's the issue.
They probably
that
ask
I
you,
think-
"Are you
Okay,
lonely?"
I
And you
declare
say
myself
yes.
to be lonely.
Let me
So now I get
clarify
it.
something. Let me clarify something really quickly.
Vagina?
No, let her clarify. Go ahead.
Mental illness is when it's causing you problems. If you have depression and it's not causing you problems in that your life isn't changing in that things that you need to do aren't being inhibited, then it's not considered a mental illness in the same way. You're not
Who would not
diagnosed
qualify
in
for
the same
this?
way.
Who would not qualify
I'm not a
for?
psychologist. What do you mean who would not qualify?
Well, if
People
you're going to
who
advocate
are
for a
found,
program, right,
well,
where
so,
people
okay, you
qualify,
would
you
set
should have
up,
a good idea of what qualifies, right?
I wish I do.
Mhm.
I know what qualifies, but you're asking me a specific one-to-one without any like context here. You need to build a system in which there are implementations of why people should need this, why people can access this, how people can access this. And again, you guys are focusing far too much on the actual sex work because that's not what I'm concerned more with the after effects from it. But in this case, who gets to see the sex work? Let a doctor decide, and we would have experts with
So why
the
is it?
DSM-4, the DSM-5 rather, and
Yeah.
psychologists
So, sorry,
explore.
I'm curious. Why is it that a doctor has to decide in this case, but when
Because
it's a decision of work on my movie in a minor role before you're able to have a major role in my
we're talking
movie?
about healthcare. That's
No,
why
no.
we're talking
Right.
about
So
healthcare.
I'm asking, why is it separate from this other thing? Because presumably you'd be totally fine, even in healthcare, of being like, hey, before you can become a doctor, you have to have a period of time where you're going to be, I forget what it's called, but like a doctor in training in a
A
hospital, right?
resident,
You're totally fine with that.
residency,
Residency,
yeah,
yeah. You're totally fine
yeah,
with residencies, right? I
yes.
assume.
Adding sex into it in our current context changes things. Like
So my
if we were
question, okay,
talking about in a different context, I would agree with you.
okay.
But in our
So
modern
I'm
society,
asking, setting aside, okay, set aside the healthcare for a second. Just in general, do you think that it's inappropriate for the director to be doing that, and why?
yes, because it's we're going to jump right back to this. Look,
No, I'm asking, why is it coercion?
because it is a system of power using
That's
money
true
to
of when
convince
she's
somebody.
working as the assistant camera operator, right?
Okay, yes, but it's not.
So
It's
is it inappropriate to ask her to be the assistant camera operator for a while before I'm willing to
no,
greenlight
that
her
doesn't
movie?
affect bodily autonomy. It's not a risk of
Oh,
danger.
bodily
It's not
autonomy.
a risk.
Okay, let's talk
It's
about
not
bodily
a risk
autonomy.
of danger. I'm still answering your question because,
Okay.
again, camera operator doesn't have the risk of you catching a disease. Camera
Okay, let's talk
operator
about risky
doesn't
jobs.
have the risk
Let her
of
finish. Go ahead.
camera
Okay.
operator doesn't have the risk of you not doing a good enough job, so the guy just beating the shit out of you because he feels like it, which they do, by the way. Not everyone, obviously, but this is a thing that happens. It is a difference in
Okay.
danger.
Okay. There's a lot of dangerous jobs on set.
Mhm.
So I want to become a lead in a role, and instead they're like, you can be the fall guy, right? You can be the guy who's paid to
Why
get
are we
burned.
talking about this? You're
Literally,
talking about jobs as in like upward mobility. I'm
I'm
talking
talking.
about we need people that have the ability.
Sure, I'm
First of all,
asking you.
again, no, hold on. No, you're going so far
You're
off
just going on
topic that
another
I don't even.
tirade.
You're going so
It's a
far
very
off topic.
specific
What
question.
I'm
This is
trying to
one to
talk
one.
about here is healthcare.
Okay,
Healthcare.
so I'm
I'm trying to
asking
talk
this
about
for. I'm
824
asking.
women who didn't get
You
raped in
said
Rhode
you
Island
said
because
that
they
it
were
was
driven by
coercive.
sex work.
Visora, you said specifically
I
that
don't
it's
give a shit about
coercive.
your semantics. I
Can I
want to talk about
please
facts.
talk about?
I
Okay,
want to
you don't
talk
understand
about
what I'm
facts,
saying.
numbers,
Healthcare.
facts.
Visora, you don't understand what I'm saying. So be quiet for a second so I can explain what I'm
Oh,
saying.
sure, go for it. Go for it. Yeah,
Okay,
let the stupid woman
you
listen.
said you said that it was coercive because it is risky. There's risk associated with having sex with this director, and there's not risk associated with being the second assistant to
It's a
the
different
camera guy.
kind of
Visora,
risk.
genuinely be
Don't
quiet
fucking
for a second.
shush me.
I'm trying
Okay.
to explain
Okay.
something you don't
Okay.
understand.
Okay. We gotta
Okay, so
calm
the
down. I
equivalent.
love the
Wait,
energy.
wait.
Take it from 11 to 10. I'll let you finish quibbles. I'll let you
I'm
finish
back to 10.
quibbles.
I'm back to
But
10.
take it
I'm back to 10.
from
I'm back to 10.
11 down to an 8
Okay.
right now. Okay.
I'm down
Finish
at a
quibbles.
Me too. I'm going down.
Wick. I'm down at a 4, Wick. Okay. Here's my question, and I'm saying the question at level 4. Okay. It is risky on set of a movie, of a major film, to be the fall guy, to be the guy whose job is to be burned alive, right? Whose job is to fall off of a skyscraper. Okay. That's a risky job. Okay. Is it coercive to ask someone to be the fall guy before they're able to be a character in the conventional sense in your movie? Is that coercion?
Well, in my let me make this even broader for you so you fully understand. In my personal view, all of this is coercion because capitalism is coercion. That's my personal view. No, but and I'm going to get more specific. In that specific case, it is a different kind of danger. It is a different feeling of danger. And on top of this, it is an existing system that people shouldn't have to go through. I do agree that there should be regulations on making that safer as well. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about preventing harm. That's all I want. I want to prevent harm. I want to prevent harm to the sex workers, to the people who use them, and to the entire community.
So I can see that during.
Okay. No,
stop, Quibbles. No, because I want to frame this before we go off on hypotheticals and things. Like, I want to separate. Like, this isn't a decriminalization debate. I just want to make this clear. We're not debating decriminalizing sex work. We're not debating legalizing sex work. What we're debating tonight is a very specific thing. It's state-funded sex work, right? It's giving a coupon or a subsidy or a rebate check or something, right? Where you give it to people under certain conditions. If their doctor needs it, you take that, you go to a sex worker. Do they have to be in system, right? Like, is there an in system here?
Yeah, let's
I actually don't agree with you that that's all we're talking about. Wait.
I also don't agree that's all we're talking about. I'm with Quibbles on this as well.
Okay,
but
so I want to explain from my view why we're not talking about that. If this was a conversation and I was arguing against someone who said Black people should be enslaved, I would take issue with two parts of that. One part of that I would take issue with is I think slavery is bad. And another part of the thing that I would take issue with is I don't think that Black people are inferior, right? Those are two separate parts of the same question. So built into the question that the claim that we should have state paid for prostitution is one, that the government should pay for this thing, and also two, that prostitution should be legalized. Right, so those are both two different parts of it.
I was going to say
so
there absolutely has to be legalization here.
I think it's totally legitimate when she's making that claim to take issue with either or both of those.
I understand, but we've been taking issue with one part of the claim for a long time, and I want to, for almost an hour, right? And I want to kind of
the entire conversation has been focused on the parts
consent.
Of this that. Well, yes, on consent, which is a specific contextual interpersonal decision that is up to people in their context. It is not a. Yeah, well, it is. Not. I agree with you to an extent, but our entire system is coercive. So either we're not talking about getting rid of capitalism here.
Okay,
we're too broad here. Can we?
There's a difference in
magnify
time.
To harm. I want to talk about harm.
Okay. Let's talk about two different. Okay. It is not in my job description either I don't know. I work at Subway. Okay. Here I work at Subway.
Do you really?
Okay. And here's my boss. My boss says, Quibbles, there's vomit on the floor. Clean the vomit off of the floor. Okay, that's one situation that they do. To be clear, not in my job description. Then another situation, they say, Quibbles, there's a penis in my pants. Suck the penis in my pants. Right? Are these different as categories, or are they just different as particular situations? Because I think they're categorically dissimilar.
I think that they're both coercion, just different levels of coercion.
No, not levels. Okay, so then let's do a different one.
I don't think they're different categories. I think they're the same category. They're just different severity of coercion. But
okay,
again,
why is it more
severe? You're missing the point. Let's take this as something in reality. In Australia, up until this year, we had government-funded sex workers in this country. Do you want an example of reality? Because I want to talk about facts, not fear-mongering, not your feelings.
I don't think it's fear-mongering to say that it's different to ask for a blowjob. Demanding a blowjob from your employee is not the same as demanding that they clean up vomit off the floor. There's no one in the history of the world who enjoys cleaning up vomit off the floor. There's lots of people who enjoy sucking penises, right? It is a pastime for many a person. Right? This is totally valid. However, it is different in kind.
Because one is a system of power being used over another.
No, and they're both power.
Well, they are both power in different ways. One is someone who is your boss. They can fire you. You can lose your job
if you do it. Both of them.
No, not both of them, because the sex worker in this case can say,
It's not a
no, I
sex
don't
worker.
want to
To
see
be
that
clear,
client.
Hold
I'm
on.
talking about-
No, hold on. Stop.
I am not
Stop.
talking about sex worker.
Stop. There is a real life situation I can bring into this. We don't need to go to fucking hypotheticals. There's a woman who is paying her landlord, instead of paying her in money, he was paying her in sex. She offered it to him. He accepted, right? But the problem with this is, as soon as she stops doing that, she doesn't have a place to stay anymore. Even in a state-sponsored system, as soon as they stop engaging in that, they no longer get the money they need to get
But that's a job.
the things that they need. But
not
the
talking
question
about
is,
that.
if I may finish, the question is sex work a fundamentally different thing as a job than factory work or being in the
No.
military or being in all these other things? And I think that's the
Okay,
fundamental
so then
difference
that's my
here
You
that
asked
we
me
need to
3
just
questions.
focus
Can I
on.
please answer them, please? Because you asked me 3 questions.
Go ahead.
One, actually, you asked me 2. One is sex work a different kind of work fundamentally than factory work? No. You're selling your body for both. You are using your body to do labor for both. Now, in the second question, the first one rather that you asked, this was, is it different, right? Was that the question? Is it different in the hypothetical of this person? So it's not hypothetical, this is a real thing. This
Yeah.
person who's paying their landlord in sex, and if they stop having sex, they no longer get to keep their house.
Mm-hmm.
Is it different than state-funded sex work? And if they say, no, I don't want to see this client, do they lose their job? No.
No,
They
not they
don't
lose
lose
their
their.
job. If they want to stop, like it
They can
becomes
just get
an
another
issue
job.
where they can't stop and they are stuck doing this, because if they stop doing this, I mean, what are they going to put on their resume, right? They're just not going to be able to get a job. And we see this play out with OnlyFans workers not being able to be employed by.
That's a
Hold on, if I may.
point right there that you
If
just
I may,
made. But
stop, please. If I
sorry,
may.
let me.
All right, like there's we see this play out in real time, where we have former OnlyFans workers, former porn stars, former anyone who's done sex work, women primarily. I'm not saying this is right or good. I'm saying that this is what it is. They are passed over for jobs for teachers. They are unable to gain government jobs in a lot of cases. They suffer for this. It is something that is stigmatized, whether we like it or not. And so when we're asking the government to kind of almost, and you're going to take issue with my rhetoric here, but please forgive me, to kind of like trap these women in these things, in getting them addicted to the government check, right? I don't know. I think that's fundamentally different than getting them a job at a factory. I think there's fundamental differences here, but go ahead, respond.
Me or Quibbles? Sorry.
No,
Okay,
you, the one
So
with the
first-
hand
You,
raised,
yeah.
yeah.
Thank you. You looked over at Quibbles on my screen, so I was confused. So first of all, the first point that you made was like OnlyFans stars and sex workers can't put this on their resume afterward, right? That's part of the stigma. If this is now a government job because it is state funded, there is a program. There would be in the case of state funding, there would be a department that handles this. It would be the Department of Health and Human Services, most likely, but there would be some role that you can name it something different than just escort. You would be able to put this on a resume because this would be a job that is a real job in people's minds. Right now, when we think about sex work, we don't consider it as real labor. We consider it as fake labor. We consider it as people. Hold on, someone's knocking on my door. 1 second. I'm so sorry, guys. Just real quickly.
Anyways,
Okay. Yeah, so I'll pontificate a little while she's gone. Okay, gang. Now that I've captured your audience. Yeah, it's just, this is like, we talk about the
Sorry about
Norwegians.
that. I got a delivery. 1
Okay.
second. Okay. So on top of this, beyond just the ability for these people to get a different job when they feel like it, there is this idea that the misogyny inherent in the view of sex work as a negative thing, as not a real job, going into the government traps them with these checks, that is, like, that entire concept is the thought process I'm trying to change here. There is no trapping. It's a job. You can say, hey, I don't want to do this job anymore, and then get a different job. On top of this, it is not only the ability to validate this job, to be able to put it on a resume because it is now part of the government. It's a social program. We're paying for it with our tax money in that case, or with your private health insurance. It becomes more normalized. there is a difference in being trapped in currently being a sex worker, being stuck on the street, having to do sex work because there is no other job you can do at the moment, because a lot of these
Let me
people
try
don't
this.
have other
Sure.
options.
Wait, no, wait.
Quibbles,
Let me finish. Let me
please.
finish. Let me
Please,
finish. I was just like two
I'm
words
one
away
trying
from finishing.
Let me debate her.
3 words away
Go
from
for it.
finishing.
Finish and
Yeah,
then
go for it.
Quibbles.
I
Visora,
lost
go,
where I
go.
was.
3 words,
I
2
lost where I
words.
was. I lost where I was. Jesus Christ. Okay. The fact that these people are currently stuck in their jobs because of the risk of A, starving to death, but B, traffickers currently control these industries. There is a black market that is on top of all this. There's a black market that buys and sells these people. There are black markets that run brothels. They are currently trapped in these jobs. Making this a thing that is part of healthcare would allow them to leave if they don't want to be part of those jobs.
Let me ask
Okay,
this.
I have
Quibbles,
a.
no. Let me
Wait,
ask this, and I'll let you go
why?
after. I'll let you go after.
Why?
Please, for the love of God, because
Good
this is important.
lord!
Do you think that it
You're the
is?
moderator, dude.
You've been on my show several times before. You know how I do this,
Ay, ay, ay.
right? Here's the deal, and this is to you, Visora. Do you think it's good for women overall, that it's not normal for a person to go into a woman's stream and say, "Hey, do you have your own OnlyFans? Where's your OnlyFans?" Do you think that's good for women? Do you think that's helped women? Do you think this normalization has
Currently?
made women feel better? Has it made women more likely to be streamers? Has it had any negative repercussions? This normalization of OnlyFans and asking women for their OnlyFans, has that had any negative repercussions on women who are content creators? What do you think?
Well, first of all, while this is happening, there is also that push of all women are sex workers, all women are OnlyFans models, and they have no value. So you like outside of we're not in a vacuum to be able to answer that question. There are outside factors that are all combining together here to have this effect. The issue that I'm having trying to explain to you guys is that this is not just an interpersonal thing. This affects a community.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's follow up with that then. Okay, is a society like I don't know, Afghanistan, for example, in which women wear clothes that cover every inch of their skin, but men don't? Is that more or less equal, all things being the same societally, other than that one fact, than a society in which that is not the case?
All things being the same, I mean, like the
Yeah,
reason that they
everything
dress like
else.
that is because they have no control over their body. It's when
So,
their
but
own
I'm saying, setting aside everything else to do with society, just that one simple fact, does that have any impact on your view? That's like the only thing you know about a society. That in one society, women basically wear approximately as much clothes as the rest of as the men do, and in one they don't show any skin.
If that's
Which one do you
all
think
I
is more
know of
equal?
this society, I think that's
Yeah,
fine. I think that like
I'm asking
if
which one do you think is likely to be the more equal society?
I wouldn't have a judgment on that until I knew more about
Okay,
it.
let's do a different one. All you know about a society is that in this society, black people consistently bleach their skin to look whiter, and another one they don't consistently bleach their skin to look whiter. All things equal, which one do you think it more likely has more of a racial justice issue?
The first one would give me a red flag, but I still wouldn't make a judgment until knowing more about a society.
Okay,
Now let me
but
ask
there's a
you a
red.
question.
Okay, fine.
Now let me
There's a
ask you
red.
a question.
Wait. I just want to. Okay, fine. Ask you a question.
Fine.
Go
No,
for it.
go on. Go on. No, go on. Go on.
Okay. There's a racial issue there because they're trying to change the bodies of black people in order to make the black bodies less notably black. And there's also an issue, presumably, if like Jews are getting nose jobs in order to look less Jewish. And there's also probably an issue, all of those, there's an issue when women's bodies are being made to look less female by hiding all of their skin. Now, the second question is, what about a society in which we demand that Jews wear stars so they can be more clearly identified as Jews,
Where does the
right?
demand come from? Like, where does this come from?
There's
Why are
just
we
there's
talking
a
about
social
demands now?
there's a social pressure such that like all you know about the society is that Jews wear stars. Which one is more likely to be the one that has a Jew issue?
I
an anti-Semitism problem.
why are we're so fucking off topic, guys?
The reason that I'm asking this is that I think also, if all you know about a society is that in one society women's bodies are being bought en masse by men, and there's another society in which women's bodies are not being bought en masse by men, the one where women's bodies are not being bought en masse by men is probably less sexist.
What I'm trying to say here is when we care for everybody in a society, we create, like, men and women both, we create a safer society. When we like criminalize sex work, generally, this just
Mhm.
creates a black market. Just outside of all the other contexts. You make something illegal, a black market exists. Yes? Like we ban alcohol and then we
It
have black
depends on
market.
it depends on the thing, and it also doesn't mean just
If it's
because
a
there's a
thing
black
people
market.
want.
There's a black market for child porn, but I think that
Yes.
child porn should stay illegal.
Yes,
right?
I do too. The point that I'm
Okay,
making is
so
a black market is more harmful in a lot of these cases than it would be
sometimes
with
black markets are
regulation.
more. Sometimes black markets
Not every case,
are
yeah.
yes. So sometimes black markets are the least bad option. Sometimes black markets are something that we should be trying to get rid of as best we can. But we should acknowledge that so far we have not figured out a way to get rid of all slavery. We haven't figured out a way to get rid of all child pornography. We haven't get rid of all rape. But we should try to ensure that rape is definitely something that stays illegal,
okay.
right?
So if we have a system that has been proven to reduce rape by 31% over the span of
You keep making that
2004 to
statistic. Can I ask a
2009,
question on this statistic? Hold on, because this statistic's important. No, I understand.
Yeah.
But like, if, for example, if I legalize murder, I would think that murder as a criminal act would probably go down, correct? Like there'd be less reporting of murder because it's not illegal, right?
Also, reports are not the same thing as actions of it.
There's more rapes than are reported generally. Yes,
Sure.
we can agree on this. More people
Sure.
get raped than people that report. Yeah.
Sure.
The amount of people who reported their rapes went down because there's systems that were implemented. Again, in Rhode Island specifically, what we're talking about, this 2004 to 2009 period, was indoor sex work, which requires a building, a manager, someone who does the finances. There is a taxpayer system. It's an institutional system.
You're just describing pimps. Yes, there are pimps.
Yeah,
we are aware that there are pimps. Yes.
Yeah, well, this is a pimp that gets paid by the government. This is a pimp that has to report to the police. But let me fucking finish, especially because not only in America, but also in New Zealand, when this happened, when they passed the Prostitution Reform Act, it increases the ability for sex workers to go to law enforcement, right? They go to law enforcement more so they can report more. But on top of this, it also reduces the reasoning for the people who would normally do violence to do violence, because now they can just complain to the manager instead. Not to say that is 100% of what's happening, but all of these things play together. Are you going to let me finish at all, or are you just going to talk over me every single time that I'm like close to finishing a sentence? Like
you just continue on and on and on, and then admittedly, Rick also will then interrupt, and then eventually he'll get bored.
I'll keep interrupting. I'll keep interrupting because it's my goddamn show, Quibbles. So stop.
Okay,
let her finish.
I love you. Infuriate me.
No. Okay. Look again. Do we want to save people's lives? Do we want to reduce rape?
Every time you do it, she's just going to start over. Quibbles, every time you do it, she's just going to start over. You got to let her finish.
Do we want to reduce these things? Do we want to reduce mass shootings? Do we want to reduce loneliness?
Stop. You're just going on the same tirade that you've said 15 times.
Because you're ignoring every single actual point that I'm trying to make.
Okay. I'm not. What you just said is really important, and I agree with much of it, actually. The issue is that it does nothing to do with what my actual view is on prostitution. The view of the vast majority of
progressives on
this topic.
Please explain.
Let me explain without interrupting. Thank you. Okay. The view by the overwhelming majority, of progressives has been for well in excess of a decade that we believe, and always have believed, that it should be legalized from the perspective of the prostituted person, but it should remain illegal for the John. So the John can go to jail for what the John is doing, but no one should be prosecuting the women who have been prostituted. That has been the view of literally every single progressive on this topic for a decade.
I don't think either should be prosecuted.
Progressive, actually. Yeah.
I don't think either should be prosecuted.
Okay. So, but
Unless
everything
like,
you just said, everything you
in a
just said about everything you just said about the impact that it has on the prostituted person, right? The woman, most likely, who has been prostituted, who has been raped, who has been abused in any number of ways, whose money has been stolen by a pimp. All of these things are horrible, and she should be able to get justice on that. And so she should absolutely be able to go to the police. That's
if a crime
different
was
than whether or
committed,
not that John should be able to say, hey, she took my money and then I wasn't allowed to fuck her holes against her will. That's bullshit. And I'm furious and blah, 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 blah. No, I have no sympathy for the John. I have no sympathy for him. He has no right to access her holes. She absolutely has a right to have justice. And if she's raped, then the government should care about it. Of course.
I agree with you on all of this, except for the fact that both should have, like, I don't think there should be a protection from prosecution if she commits a crime, if she stabs him. Like,
of course,
that's
if she
the thing.
stabs
Well,
him, obviously.
that's what I'm saying. There should be
That's
no
not-
prosecution unless a crime is committed. Unless a crime is committed.
To stay illegal.
Unless it was just the one crime that the first one I thought of. Unless a crime is committed, it should stay.
Yes. So which crime? Because stabbing, as an example, is something that already is illegal. You don't need to change
Rape is
the
a
law.
crime, right?
Yes,
Okay,
I
what's
agree.
it-
But the issue, okay, rape is a crime, but the current way that the law is designed, such that prostitution, being prostituted, is also illegal. The fact that being prostituted is also illegal has the result of making it so that if you are raped as a prostitute, you cannot go forward to the police. So that is a problem. And therefore, to be prostituted should not be a crime. However, to sexually violate people who don't want to have sex with you and are only willing to do so because you have paid for access to their holes should stay illegal.
You're conflating trafficking with prostitution here because you said prostituted. I don't think that
Yes, prostituted person.
Yes,
A person who is
trafficking,
being prostituted.
an escort, a individual person who wants to engage in sex work, and sex trafficking are not the same things. But
I
yes,
didn't
agree
say
with
sex
you.
trafficking.
Well,
I said
so that's what
prostituted person.
I think that sounded like you were conflating the two to me. Prostituted
If a person is-
sounds like somebody is making them do it. Does
Hold
it
on.
not?
If a
May I,
person being- no,
because
no.
you guys are
Just a
talking past each other.
clarification here.
Well, the reason I interrupt so much is because you're having two different conversations. You're not connecting. You're not, none of you, and it's frustrating. It's infuriating
I
almost.
just want a
I'm about to,
clarification.
okay, anyway, quibbles.
Yeah, it's
Quibbles,
a simple
quibbles, quibbles,
clarification.
quibbles.
I wanna-
Stop, let me ask you a
clarification.
question. Stop, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. You won't even allow, I have a question for you. You can answer that. You can talk after I ask you this question. Cool?
Look,
Cool.
I'm furious.
Great. Wonderful.
I'm
Quibbles,
furious.
do you think that every single woman who engages in a form of sex work does so against their will?
I think that all sexual acts that need to be paid for, by definition, the man is not able to get a consenting woman to do that sexual act without paying her to do so. And so therefore, it is by definition always bottom of the barrel sex. It is always going to be the sex that is more selfish. It is always going to be the sex that is with men who would otherwise not be able to get a partner. It is always going to be the sex that is more violatory to her than she otherwise would be able to provide to herself, or that he would otherwise be able to get.
Does this include things like cam work or e-sex or something like messages and things like that? So
I don't think that-
if I was
I
a
don't think-
woman,
first of all-
and I wanted to have a campsite, okay, and I was like, you know what? I like showing off my body. I love it. It makes me feel empowered. It makes me feel good.
Look,
I
this
love
is a
it.
debate
I
about
love it. It's
prostitution.
great. I get
This
a
isn't a
little.
debate about
Let
is
me
not a-
finish my hypothetical. I get a little titillated
finish.
because
Let's
I
finish it.
like it. Right. I enjoy it. And you know what? I can make some money off of it. Sweet deal, right?
You're asking about OnlyFans and Pornhub, and this is not a conversation about OnlyFans and Pornhub. It's a conversation about prostitution.
Sex workers. So
No,
what if the
they
government?
they
What?
are
Hold on.
sex
Both of you
workers,
stop. Hold on.
The government should
If the
ensure that
government
you
said you're
I'm not
feeling
saying that.
lonely,
I'm not saying that.
everyone already has access to free
here
porn.
is a
That's not
saying that.
coupon to go to a cam girl. Would you be okay with that? Not to a street worker or something like that. Not to anywhere
Okay.
where any physical touch is
Wait.
done, but simply to a cam girl.
Okay, that's not the conversation we're having. We're having a conversation about access to people's holes. It is not about access to Pornhub. Okay,
Man, it's
people are
really
able to.
weird that you say it that way.
If you are an adult, you are allowed to watch porn. I am chill with the fact that if you are an adult, you are allowed to watch porn. That's okay. I'm okay with that as a society, right? That's very different than specifically, should the government give you Twitch bits so that you can give your Twitch bits to the OnlyFans one so they go with their top.
This is the thing
No,
I do on my channel. This is the thing I do on my channel, and I'll remind my channel, right? If you super chat me $50, I will take my shirt off. And I've done it before. I will do it again.
Yeah.
Is that me?
Okay.
Like, is that violating me in any way?
I don't think that porn is the same as having someone intimately violate your holes. But if you're asking me whether or not I think that porn is something that is broadly good for society, I don't think it's great for society, but I certainly don't put it even remotely on the same level as someone violating your holes intimately.
I understand.
Okay.
Go ahead.
May I respond? Okay.
Please do.
So, first of all, education is a good point here, because you said something along the lines of what was it? The people who need help, the people who can't get sex with a woman naturally, like the men who can't just go and riz a chick who wants to fuck him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Part of the reason for this is because they're not taught how to interact with women. They're taught literally to hate women and to ignore women and to demean women. They're taught things that make them unattractive to women. Look at South Korea. Look at Japan. The men are so unfuckable that those countries are dying. And so what I'm saying here is this will
So the solution is that South Korea needs
no, let her finish. Let her finish, please. My God, for the love of God, let her finish. Yeah.
You guys made like 4 points, right?
Okay.
Secondly, on top of this, you keep talking about sex workers as if they're being abused, whereas in a context of this is part of a system that is helping the community, I see them more like nurses. They're there for a job. Their job is to help people. Their job is to help the community. Now, is it fun? Not necessarily. Is it fun for a nurse to wipe some guy's ass? No. But again, let me bring it to a real example. A real example. In Australia, up until a year ago, we had government-funded sex workers for specific reasons. It wasn't for mental health here. It was for physical health. But take an instance of a guy who breaks his arms and his legs and has an erection for 4 hours. You need some help with that. If you don't do something about it, that physically harms you, does it not? Does the blood just staying there not start to rot your penis in this instance? People do physically have needs for these. Now, are they rare? Yes, sure. But bringing this into the idea of the United States, where, by the way, not everyone is allowed to watch porn, like you said, Quibbles. It's banned in 18 states. But on top of that,
sure, you're lying.
Wait,
it's not banned in 18 states. It's banned for minors in 18 states, which it should be. That's very different than banned for adults.
You can't get Pornhub statistics from 18 states. They're saying banned for minors now.
This is hold on. This is a different debate. SCOTUS heard. SCOTUS, the Supreme Court of the United States heard.
Let me take that back, because I don't. I'll take that back.
This is a different debate. Different debate.
You said SCOTUS. You said SCOTUS, and I didn't like. SCOTUS hadn't said anything prior to this.
No, they heard arguments today. They haven't ruled on it, but SCOTUS heard arguments today on the Texas law. I listened to them. There's interesting arguments, but it's a different debate. I just want to acknowledge, though, that one of the quotes that we're going to use for tonight is Visora said that Japanese men are so unfuckable, but the country is dying. That was a direct quote. We're going to use that.
It is a direct quote. I actually have a clip of that.
Okay. Pornhub making a decision as a private company not to be in certain states because Pornhub doesn't like that there is a law that says, hey, children aren't allowed to watch porn.
Did you literally not say we're not talking about this?
I did. I don't know why you decided to keep that.
Oh, my bad. I'm sorry.
She retracted it.
She
retracted it. We're keep going.
I apologize. I didn't hear the retraction. Go for it.
Because you're not listening to me, but fair enough.
Wiki, you infuriate me. I love
Good. You should be mad. Go ahead.
The actual point that I have here is that if you do this in a regulated, rational way with experts who give advice, with doctors who have reasoning, with a actual, like we have the DSM, do we not? The Diagnostic and Statistic Manual. Can we not use that to qualify for who could benefit from something like this? Who could benefit from different levels of something like this? Maybe you're a 50-year-old man and your wife has been dead for 5 years and you're too depressed to go outside, not even for sex, you just want a hug. You just want someone to come and converse with you. This program, the same exact program, could be a part of this. I would argue it actually should be a part of this. I think that it should be not just sex work, but an overall mental health care program that includes intimacy, because intimacy and sex are not the same thing.
Can we take
Before anyone goes on, I gotta read my super chats. I have to make money from this because, look, do you guys think I would talk to you guys for free? What are you talking about, right? I gotta be paid for this shit. Let me go through
it. Just make your money.
$2 from Zephyr Hash to say, hi, Wick, did Quibbles read my manifesto? $2 more from the same individual. Looks like Visora read it too. W's all around. $2 from another new account. Guy needs to stop interrupting all the time. $2 from Kid. Why are we mixing coercion and persuasion? $5 from another new account. Wick. It's immoral because it's outside the scope of their job without advance notice. It's not what they signed up for. $5 from Trib1. One view. Babysit my children for free if you don't want to, and you'll get the job. Almost like one view. Sleep with me if you don't want to, and you have the job. $5 from another new account. Yes, your job is to clean up the store, including vomit when necessary. Now go make me a sandwich. $5 from Trib1. The answer to the government paying for sex work is no, with the caveat that if there's a necessary reason for a sex work service, then I'd be for government funding it. $2 from Fates. Wait, what one of you support government issue sex stamps? That would be Visora. Okay, that's my money. Thank you for the money. Keep giving me money. Okay. And again, if you give me $50, we make this a lot more spicy. Okay. Anyway,
okay. Wick has accomplished capitalism. Congratulations, golf clap for Wick for accomplishing capitalism. I adore you. Okay, back to the broader claim. You said that men with long boners must be fucked, right? That's what you said.
No, that's not what I said.
If they're in the hospital for a long period of time and they have long boners, they must be fucked.
I said if a guy's arms and legs are broken, and he has an erection that is not going away, that is a medical problem. And that
I agree. It's a medical problem.
Have a system that includes what I'm talking about to fix it.
Okay, so the medical problem of he has a long boner, as in not like long, but like it takes a while, right?
Okay,
the long boner, the solution I can conclude to the long boner is give this man a pocket pussy, right? Give this man a machine in the same way that when you're at a sperm bank, you get a machine that will masturbate for you if you don't feel like masturbating yourself, right? Give this man a pocket pussy and have at it, Hoss. Play with the machine.
Now you're just talking about machines taking away humans' jobs here.
You don't need a human being's holes to be violated in order to get the physical mechanisms of like changing the human body in order to achieve orgasm. There are situations where achieving orgasm is medically necessary. There are not situations where it is medically necessary for me to violate people's holes. That's not true.
Okay. So first of all, you're partially correct here. But I will say, like, again, this system shouldn't need to exist. We're talking about the context that we live in, the material conditions in which we exist and how we engage with them. That's what we're talking about. And we're talking about, yes, some of those machines exist. I've never even heard of one until you said it, but You
never heard of pocket pussy?
No, I heard of pocket pussies. I just didn't.
I didn't know about the masturbation machines either. To be clear, I had no idea.
I didn't hear about I didn't know about the sperm bank masturbation machines.
Okay. Well, clearly,
an autonomous thing, an autonomous machine that does this for you. That you don't need hands or legs.
Automation is crazy. Wait till AI gets access to this shit, and they can be "Oh yeah, baby, oh yeah," while they're going at it. Oh, anyway.
What I'm trying to get across here, this is death of society shit.
Okay, I was immaculately conceived like Jesus because my dad masturbated into a cup, and then I was made into a little in a cup, and then it was inserted into my mother, and then I became a person. Okay, so like Jesus, I was immaculately conceived. Similarly, this is a situation. This already exists. There's already a solution to this. Lots of men give sperm either because they're trying to in vitro conceive with their spouse, or because they're giving sperm to a sperm bank. And this happens all the time. It is regularly part of a medical situation.
Yes, I agree. That's not the problem. I'm saying we need to expand that system to include mental health, because that will reduce violence.
So I said, if your argument reduces back to I think that the government should give men pocket pussies. And if you are
Doesn't work.
if you're a
It
fan
doesn't
of
work.
Nick Fuentes, all Nick Fuentes fans need to have a pocket pussy right now. If
That
that's what your
doesn't work.
argument is, it has to be
That
paid for
doesn't
by the
work.
government. Okay,
That
why not?
doesn't work because the entire point isn't the sex. It's teaching them how to interact socially with women, how to feel
Okay.
comfortable around women,
Cool.
how to not hate women, and the fact
Okay, so
that
then,
they.
cool. So it's only a matter of mental health. There's no physical health issues because all physical health
Why
issues
do
that you
these
might be
have to
talking
be
about
separate?
can
It's
be dealt
depending on the
with elsewhere.
context. They don't need to
Okay.
be separate.
Okay,
It's
I'm
depending
saying
on context.
all physical ailments that you're describing can be dealt with in this other way. So you're
Okay.
only talking exclusively about mental issues.
Sure, not everywhere has access to these things,
Can I
though.
ask a
Again,
question?
No,
like
everyone has access to pocket pussy.
machines
Like,
are fucking expensive. No,
PSA,
not
PSA
pocket
for all
pussies.
men out there.
Not pocket
pussies.
pussies.
Go on
Quibbles,
Amazon.
quibbles. Please listen to me. It's not the
It costs like
pocket.
$40.
I'm talking about automated that you don't need hands for.
Yes, you can get a pocket pussy.
And how do you put it on there without hands?
No. Okay.
You get a little clamp.
Look, we're getting off topic. We're getting off topic again.
Okay, I'm not going to. Hold on. I don't care. I don't care how it's operated. I'm not.
You absolutely could do it.
I-
It is 100%
I don't-
doable with a pocket pussy and a clamp.
I don't want to. Oh God, this is not where I
Okay,
want this to go.
Sure. You know what? Sure.
Mike, I have a question,
sure,
please.
Sure.
So it
Let's
costs a
drop
grand
physical
total
health.
of
Okay, wait.
a $20 clamp.
Wick show. It's Wick show.
You know,
Let him talk.
pocket pussy.
Let Wick
So
talk.
we're only talking about mental issues. We're not talking about physical issues. There's no physical situation where this is necessary.
I disagree, but go on.
Visora,
How do you disagree?
Go on, Wick.
It costs $60.
So
It costs
Visora,
$60 to walk into a hospital.
can you describe to me, and don't be lurid or anything, right? But how
I would never
does
dream of being lured. I would never do that.
I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to Visora. Okay. Now you're distracting me. Okay. Back on topic. Okay. So your claim is that intimacy, right? To teach intimacy, one of the things that you said was providing this will help men learn how to interact with women, will help them learn how to be intimate or experience intimacy if they normally can't, etc. Do you honestly think, and do you honestly think that sex work is going to teach a man how to interact with women?
There's more.
Do we want
to
that
it
to
than
be a
this.
thing?
There's ways to go about it because it's not just about sex. It's not even just about intimacy. It's the fact that the population that this would be targeted to are lonely, they're depressed, they commit suicide at higher rates, and a lot of their reasoning that they publicly put out is because they feel like they are excluded from society, that they're alienated from women. It's not just about the intimacy. It's not just about the sex. It's about being able to be in the presence of them. It is making them feel like they're human, they're normal, that they're not an outcast, that they're not insane, and that they deserve to live, that they deserve love and affection.
I would posit.
Okay.
Hold on, Quibbles, please let me finish. I would posit though that this program will not fix that problem. As a man, if I am told that yes, sure, you can be intimate, right, with a woman, but you have to pay for it, unlike, everyone else. That's going to make me feel worse. Not
Please let me respond
better.
before Quibbles jumps on. Please let me respond.
Go ahead.
Because the point here isn't that this is not a silver bullet, and no, it will not entirely fix that, but it will do more good than harm. It will reduce rape, it will reduce sex trafficking, it will reduce STDs, it will increase the ability for the people who engage in the sex work to be able to go to law enforcement. It'll increase their ability to feel safe at work and their choice in what they do at work.
I think decriminalization would do that. I don't think this would. And I think that the negative externalities, and let me explain why. The negative externalities of what we can see, what I fear will happen, and what I think that there's evidence for that will happen, is much less in the case where normal women who don't engage in sex work are now having to shoulder the burden with it being normalized for men to come up to them and say, hey, do you have an OnlyFans, right? And sexualizing them in a very specific way that has become normalized. I fear that the same thing will happen with women outside of these spaces when it becomes normalized and okay for you to go up a woman and says how much for a quickie, right? That would probably make a lot of women uncomfortable, and it would probably make it harder for them to exist in normal spaces in a normal way. But because the government has put its seal of approval on this, it wouldn't be out of it would become a social norm for it to be done. But I think it would make a lot of women uncomfortable, and it would have negative externalities on there, and it wouldn't actually solve the problem that you're seeing looking to solve.
That this would depend on how it was implemented, like how the government goes about doing this, that it would depend, like if they fucked it up, obviously worse outcomes. Yes, can we agree on that?
Do you trust the government not to fuck it up?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, then why would we advocate for it? In the current climate, we don't exist in a vacuum, right? We don't exist in a vacuum. Yes, so in the current climate, with we have Trump in charge of the presidency, I don't want this anywhere near the government because they will fuck it up.
Because it's not the government that I'm worried about. They'll fuck it up for the people doing the job, but it's already worse for them. They'll still have an increase in their standard of living, in their standard of work. The point that I'm making, why do I think that this will not make it worse for women? Do you know how long sex lasts on average? The actual average globally is 5.4 minutes. If you are with a sex worker for an hour, which is this
rookie numbers.
That's the average for the globe.
Yeah, you gotta get those down.
It is absolutely rookie numbers, but like still.
You gotta speed that up, my friends. Yeah, you gotta
speed that up. Are you kidding?
Take no more than a minute. No more than a minute.
That's sad. And we're talking about what's bad for women.
Yeah.
Okay.
Continue.
No, but like, so if you have an hour with a person, let's say, which generally, like, you go to therapy with a psychologist, that's about an hour, maybe 45, maybe 48 minutes. Length of a TV episode. If you spend 5 minutes of that having sex, what are you doing for the rest of that? You're talking. And these people who are sex workers in this case, well, I would imagine.
I've never been to a sex worker. I can't tell you.
I have.
Okay.
And
what did you guys
also, I know other people who have. We hung out and chatted for like several hours because she stayed afterward. But that's not the point. The point here is that there is a time period of empty space. These are sex workers who are, again, in my view, I don't want them to just be sex workers. I want them to function more like social workers, like therapists. I want them to get training for...
Why can't we just get therapists?
We should also have more of those. I think that we should...
No, I'm asking, like, why is this better than just therapy?
Because therapy doesn't generally, like, touching in therapy is seen as negative because you need to feel entire when you go to therapy.
Why is it negative?
No,
there's a reason. This is a good point. But why is it negative?
I studied psychology. It's negative because when you go to a therapist's office, you build a rapport with this therapist based on the fact that they are a professional who's there to give you advice, and they are not impacted by your life, and they are not included in your life. They don't touch you. They don't hug you most of the time. Yeah, you can if you build like a nice rapport and you're with your therapist for a long time, but there is a disconnection between yourself and the therapist.
There's a good reason for that, right? It's probably
a good
idea to keep that separation.
Yes, there is the utility for that.
Do you not think that there's a good idea to keep a separation between a professional sex worker and a normal person? Right?
I think that, or whatever. No, because like to an extent, it's contextual. I think that part of their job should be to teach you how to be intimate if you need it. I think a lot of them should also receive training for psychology, for social work skills.
I'm sorry, when you say a lot of
training,
are you saying
the ones that want to?
Are you saying okay? So it shouldn't be mandated.
Well, it shouldn't be mandated that you have to do this.
I'm asking if you want to be a government-paid sex worker, prostitute.
Yeah. I also think that
should it be mandated that you have a background in psychology?
No, I think you could learn on the job if you want to, but I also don't necessarily. You can be sent to different jobs according to what you're good at, like any other business. If you don't feel like learning psychology, then they don't send you to one where you have to give someone therapy. They send you to one. Fuck.
If you don't need therapy, what are the jobs where there's no therapy needed, but they need desperately, emotionally, to have intimacy, and the only possible version of intimacy they can have is sexual intimacy, and they desperately need that to be paid for by the government,
The basis,
where
so
there's
again,
no,
I don't
yeah.
necessarily think it should be paid. Like, I think all healthcare should be paid for by the government. I think everyone should have universal
Sorry,
health coverage. Where that came up,
I'm
I know.
asking, what's
I'm
the
answering your question.
non-therapeutic
I'm answering your
situation?
question. I'm
Yeah.
just clarifying my position.
Okay.
It's not just about that. The non-specific reason why the difference between a sex worker who is teaching someone intimacy and a sex worker who is a therapist at the same time is the difference in touch. The therapist one is there for a different reason. They're there to speak. You can't have therapy without communication. And if these people are good communicators, they're introspective, they can do critical analysis, sure. But that's a level up. The level below that is the ones that can't even talk to you, the ones that can't look in your eye, the ones that feel uncomfortable being in the same room as a woman, the ones that feel uncomfortable with touch, intimacy, because they're afraid, not because of, like any other, because of fear, because of hatred, because of disgust, any of these reasons. That's where you get the step one, the intimacy.
Okay, so
Now,
the step one is not, as it currently is, that you are in a room with a therapist and you spend an entire session with a therapist
that's
in a
step two.
room. And let me finish thing. Currently, step one looks like you're in a room with a therapist, you're across the room from them, and you sometimes literally sit there for an entire session and are just silent in the room and you just like exist in the same space as another person for a while. And then after a couple of sessions of doing that for 50 minutes, once a week or twice a week, you will eventually get up to a point where you're able to have a very simple conversation about like, what was your day like? That kind of stuff. And then you're able to build out from there. Rather than doing that kind of therapy, your suggestion is prior to that, because they're not capable yet of being in a room with a therapist, they should instead be penetrating the holes of unwilling parties.
I'm still putting words in my mouth. First of all, there doesn't need to be a distinction. A, you can have this and you can have therapy. You can go do this twice a week and you can go to a therapist. B, there is a different reason because of the utility of touch. Touch is the key here. Teach people to touch because, again, look, the real issue is that when men feel uncomfortable, when they feel afraid, they lash outwardly towards whatever is in the vicinity. Yes, generally is this like when
Well, it's
people,
fight or
even not even
flight.
just men,
They fight
fight
or
or
they
flight,
run
guys.
away. The fight or flight.
I don't think that I
Oh,
don't
too.
think that just because there are violent men out there that we should just do whatever the violent men want us to do
Obviously, they
and
don't
give
want
the
us to do
violent men
this.
whatever they want in order to make sure that they stop being violent.
This is not what they want. What they want is state mandated girlfriends. I want to teach them how to be a human being. We're talking
Right.
about
You
death
don't
of
want to get them state
society
mandated
shit here.
girlfriends. You just want to get them state mandated one night stands. That's what you
I
want.
want to bring them to a level of human communication that is equivalent to you and
One
me.
night stands. You want the government to pay for one night stands. Yes.
Sure, yeah. Okay. If it helps, yeah. If it reduces
Yeah.
rape,
Okay.
then yeah. If it reduces STDs, then
Yeah.
yeah. If it reduces sex trafficking,
So
then yeah.
state mandated one night stands is going to make them less sexist and is going to make them less violent and is going to be good for society because your definition of society is a definition of society that includes most women, but not those women, not the women who are included who are going to be violated by these one
How do
night
I
stands
exclude
repeatedly.
them? How am I excluding them and how are they
You're
being
excluding
violated?
them because quite obviously, back to the shitting in the mouth example, you understood earlier
Oh
that this
my
is
God.
coercive, that they're being coerced, that they're being violated.
You're being
You don't
coerced to go
care.
to work.
No,
Everyone's coerced to go to
I'm
work.
not being coerced to go
Capitalism
to.
is coercive.
No.
Why are we talking about
Capitalism
this
is
again?
not.
What is the point here? What I'm
Sarah,
talking about
Sarah,
is you
can't
just
just,
agreed with me. You just
Sarah,
agreed with me.
you can't just say, well, capitalism exists, so there's no moral
That's not
implications
what I'm
to any
I don't
distinction
that's
between any kind of work and any other type of work.
I'm
That is
not
not
trying to say that.
progressivism is. Okay, you can say, "Hey,
I'm
I
not
think there are problems with working in a shirt factory in general, but I think it's worse when you work in a shirt factory, and specifically the doors are fucking locked, and if there's a fire, you can't get out."
Okay, the
That's what progressivism is.
824 women who didn't get raped, less so, that the reduction of rape in Rhode Island, between 2004 and 29. Was that a good thing? The 824 women who were not raped compared to the statistics before?
Okay.
Is that
Sorry.
good?
I'm gonna give a multi-sentence answer. Are you ready?
No. I want to yes or no for this one first.
Okay.
Yes
It's gonna be a multi-sentence. Bear with me.
Yeah, everything
okay?
is. You never stop talking.
You're right. I've talked for much more than this than either you or Wick. That's a good point.
Both need to just answer the damn questions. Go ahead.
Okay. I think that rape is bad. Okay. I think that rape is that's true.
Brave, stunning. We love it.
Stunning, brave,
get to your point. You don't need to throat clear.
I am the most feminist of all feminism. I think rape is bad. Okay. As a part of my belief that rape is bad, I think that okay, I'm gonna use a different example as a parallel. Okay. It is bad to have sex with the minor, even if the minor thinks that they are consenting to it. I'm still opposed to it. Right? It's worse to have sex with a minor who, in the moment, understands it to be rape. Right?
Yes.
But it's still rape. It's still wrong to have sex with a minor, even if the minor thinks in the moment that it is not rape. The minor is wrong. It is still rape. So if you're asking me, hey, we found this way to make it so that the number of total children who report being raped goes down, and the way that we did that was that we got a bunch of child prostitutes, right? And we paid all these child prostitutes, and in the moment, these child prostitutes thought that they were consenting, right? You might genuinely be able to decrease this other category of children who in the moment understand it to be rape, but I would still not be okay with that.
I would not be okay with that either.
I understand, even if the child in the moment thinks that it's not rape, that it is rape. That it is still wrong.
Yes. So just clearly, Quibbles. Your contention here is we can just cut to the chase here. Is that prostitution, even if the prostitute consents to it, is still rape?
Yes.
Yes. Gotcha.
Okay. So you're talking about
I did not say specifically rape, but it's violatory.
Okay. Are we talking about a moral argument here? Because that's what it sounds like you're trying to get at. A moral argument of it is like, regardless of whether or not this helps other people, because it is exploitative of the sex workers, then it is more.
It is exploitative of children, even if they don't understand themselves to be exploited.
Why are we talking about children?
To have sex with children.
Regular topic. Yeah, that's bad. Don't have sex with children. Can we get back to the actual topic?
Wait. Don't have sex with children. Let's expand that. Don't have sex, are you ready for it? With people who don't want to have sex with you, whether they're adults or children. Okay, well, if they don't want
When did we disagree on this? That's what I'm trying to reduce.
If they're only willing to have sex with you because you're paying them, maybe that's an example of a person who doesn't actually want to have sex with you.
But they're not being coerced. They still get to choose.
I agree. And little Timmy is saying the moment that he's okay with it.
A child is not the same as an adult. A child is not the same as an adult. In New Zealand, when they reduce when they
children are not the same. Okay. I agree that children are not the same.
Why the fuck are you talking about children right now? What does this matter? Because
the point is, Basura, the point is that consent violations are somewhat complicated. There is a level of consent that is being violated with any sexual act.
There's a level of consent that's being violated in any act.
However, okay, sir, let me finish.
Yes, I agree with you.
Let me finish. There's a sexual violation of all children who are engaged in sex. Across the board, that is always the case. It is a larger level of sexual violation of the child if in the moment, even as a child, the child understands it to be a violation of their consent. Both are rape. Both are disgusting. Both are wrong. However,
a sex worker
one
is not getting raped if they want to have sex with the client and they get paid. It's not rape.
One of them is more wrong, but they're both wrong for the same reason, right? Which is that either in the moment the child cannot consent because they were a child, or in the moment the child did not consent because they didn't consent in the moment, right?
Yes.
Both of these
are all wrong.
Violations. Okay.
Yes.
Similarly, in the case of the person who does not want to have sex with you, right? That is an example of a person who you are raping. Or, alternatively, if they don't want to have sex with you, but are willing to let you shit in their mouth, are willing to let you come in their holes, in order to manage to 70% of them or some huge percentage are actually I have the exact number. It is substance abuse. This is from I can send this link to you. 70.8% reported injecting drugs in the past 3 months. 92% of whom have injected heroin in the last 3 months. 83.6% reported having smoked crack cocaine in the past 3 months. So yes, I think if you're having sex with a crack addict, give me a second. I'm going to put this into our group chat. If you're having sex with a crack addict and the crack addict is willing, quote unquote, to do it because they are addicted to crack and therefore this is the only way they can get more crack, yeah, I think that you are violating them.
Okay, first
Not
of
to
all,
the same degree as if in the moment they're opposed to it, but they're still violating them.
In
Yes.
that case, I do agree with you, but you're
Okay.
still misunderstanding.
Wait.
No, hold on. Let me respond to some of the things you said, because you said some insane shit. Insane shit.
Okay. I just want to. You said something very specific there. I just want to get a 1 point, and then we can go forward.
Okay.
What you just said is 70.8% of sex with a prostitute is rape. Mm-hmm. That's what you're saying?
Currently. In our current system, yes.
In our current system, 70.8% of sex with a prostitute is rape.
If they're under the influence and then they can't consent. So yes, I do agree with that. Okay.
Cool. Continue.
Now, do you think that would, I don't know, maybe go down if these people had A, regular pay, B, less abuse, a job where they can say, hey, I don't want that client, someone else take that client, because, we are a moral people and we would build systems that are not going to force people who don't want to fuck that client to fuck that client. Now, if let's say they're low on bills and they do it anyway, they're not being forced. Now, is that still wrong? Yes, but in my view, all of this is wrong. You shouldn't have to get paid to live. Universal basic income is my view. So beyond any of that, right? I don't give a shit if you're technically being coerced because you need money to live. All of us are doing that. Is it still wrong? Yeah, but just as wrong as everything else. In a system where they have the degree of choice over which client that they see, nor do they not see, in a system in which they have someone that is an authority that they can report to if there is something wrong, a system where they are legitimized, validated, can access healthcare, get paid wages regularly, because now it's not a black market and they're not being trafficked and they're not slaves. They're getting paid regular wages, paying taxes as well. All of this reduces violence, yes, to the workers, to the community. It is better for the workers than the current conditions they live in, and it reduces, again, like we said, reported rapes. Sure, right? Reported rapes, you don't believe in that number. The number's probably higher than that. I agree, the number is probably higher than that. But that 31% decrease wouldn't have happened without the decriminalization. The 39% decrease in gonorrhea wouldn't have happened. The issue being, in places like this has been implemented, right? And
okay, so I have a question.
Okay.
Let's talk about your Rhode Island example. Okay, so you already agreed that 70.8% of prostitution is an example of rape, right?
Because of drug use. Let's clarify.
Because of drug use. Yep. Because of drug use. Sure. Okay. So 70.8%. So then the question is, the total number of sexual encounters with a prostitute, right? Was that percentage 30% higher, whatever the percentage is, than the number of rapes that it went down?
Drugs. Why do people do drugs?
Wait, sorry, can you just answer my question?
It is answering. Why do people do drugs?
Why do people do drugs?
Yeah. Your question.
I think there's a whole host of reasons that people do drugs.
That's true. A large reason is A, economic instability, B, trauma and abuse, and C, depression. All three of these conditions are what currently sex workers have to deal with. They often have trauma, they often have depression. Now, if put them and drug addictions, if you put them in a regulated system where they're paid a regular wage, they can access healthcare.
Then they'll just stop being drug addicts?
Well, most of them will try, because being a drug addict isn't fun.
Sure. Is your claim
there's former drug addicts in my chat.
A second, a couple things have been said here that we need some clarity on.
People can go get recovery. The reason
during
that
the
these
80s
people currently can't.
There were a lot of people who had jobs, high-paying jobs, who were very successful, pretty happy, as happy as anyone. They did a shit ton of drugs. A shit ton. Lots of cocaine. Tons. Right? So I just
Multiple
don't
cocaine.
see, right, the connection between these things. But maybe you can elaborate, please.
Like
To you, that you made the claim that the three reasons people do drugs are because of depression, because of economic insecurity, and because of there was a third one I forget. But like that's just not true. I know a lot of people who do drugs because it's fun.
Well, I mean that too, but I can cite you a study that shows that economic instability and depression and like general living stress, home stress does lead to increased drug use in Australia.
Yeah, I agree.
It also then leads to
Sorry,
increased domestic violence. Yeah, no, you agree with me.
yes.
That's the
Okay.
way.
So yes, there are people who are desperately depressed and all of that, and people who are desperately impoverished in all of these situations. It's going to increase the chances that they are going to be drug addicted. People who are drug addicted cannot consent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But let's
If
reduce
people who
their drug
cannot,
addiction.
okay, cool. So people who are addicted to drugs cannot consent. 70+% of prostitutes are drug addicted. Ipso facto, right? Therefore, 70+% of prostituted people are getting raped when they are having sex, right?
Mhm.
And therefore, by the way, this is 70% that's likely to have more sex on average, more clients on average than the average
I'm not
prostitute.
disagreeing.
Rest of the prostitutes. Okay,
Continue.
so therefore, this 70% of prostituted people, right, are getting raped chronically, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
so when you're talking about it as something that is going to increase the aggregate number of people who are in this category in which 70% of them are being raped, right? And you're saying, oh, but the number of people who are reporting getting raped is going down. That's not a useful thing to say if you're trying to say that the aggregate amount of rape itself, rather than reports of rape,
First of
because
all, there
reports
is
of
a
rape
difference
are
between
a white person thing. Reports of rape are a rich person thing. They are not something about people who are desperately impoverished, who are addicted to crack. Yeah.
Yes, that's the point I'm trying to make. There would be less of all of this. There'd be less likely for new drug addicts to form if they could enter this system without having to, like, a big reason that sex workers do a lot of drugs, right, is because they have to get raped. They have to fuck people they don't want to fuck. If you give them a bit more choice, then A, less of that. B, they work for the government. They have health care. They, like, in the case of state funded, whether if it's private funded, fine, they don't work for the government, but they have a better paying job, they have regular wages. Again, these things decrease drug addiction by they just do. Now, is every drug addict going to no longer be a drug addict? No, obviously not.
Okay.
The ones that are should not work for this. Like, you shouldn't be able to do this high.
Okay, that's a good question.
Okay.
You're about to ask something about what about Jews and Hitler? And okay, fair enough. But I want to ask about the actual questions at hand, right?
I've experienced anti-Semitism. I'm furious. Continue what we were going to say.
Visora, in your program that you're advocating for, what would the restrictions be if you wanted to be a sex worker? Say I was like, you know what? Government check, sign me up. I don't mind taking some lady to Pound Town every once in a while that I might not otherwise, right? They give me a few $100 or something. The government's going to pay for it. Cool, sign me up. What would be the requirements? What would I need to meet? Like, would I need to be drug tested regularly? Would I have to sign up to a registry? Would I have to have like a background check? What would the process be? Could you walk me through it?
I imagine a background check would be nice, but it wouldn't be like something that denies you like work. Like, if your background check shows that you're a child molester, then yeah, you don't get the job, obviously.
Fair.
But aside from that, I don't think you should be drug tested unless there is a reason. Obviously, in a system where
we just had this whole conversation about how a lot of
I know, but I don't think
are
you should be
addicted to
drug
drugs
tested.
and it's consent. And
I know, but I don't think you should be drug tested. I think that while you're being hired for this, there should be, like, I don't know, someone smart and intelligent looking at this. But B, I don't care if there is a complaint made by a client that the sex worker is on drugs, then they get drug tested. If the worker themselves isn't
like for a physical, yearly physical.
I was getting that.
Right?
I was getting to that.
Yeah.
That should be required regularly. Every, I don't know, once a month STI tests, maybe once every 2 months, maybe for some like blood work stuff. But every like month you do a physical, you do a full physical, you do a blood test, but you don't drug test these people. I don't want to drug test them. If it's not something that will, because again, drug testing them and denying them this job, even if it is technically them submitting themselves to rape, is immoral. Because this is the job that this is their like
Is
livelihood.
drug testing
You're gonna
in
rape-
general immoral? Like for the military, for example. Hold on, stop.
to be fair, I do think all drugs should be legal. I don't think that all drugs are good, and I don't think you should do drugs at work. But I don't think
but should a company be
So then that
allowed? Should a company be allowed to
test.
do a drug test on someone if they don't want? Right, that it's not illegal to do certain drugs, but I don't want someone who smokes weed to work for me because I just don't want it. Right?
I mean,
Should I
Because
be
you
able
have
to
heavy
drug
machinery,
test?
for example.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
that's the thing. In certain contexts, I do think those should exist, including this one. I just don't think we should be drug testing them. I think we should, like, especially.
But sorry, you
while
already
implementing-
said that
No,
they're
but listen.
getting
because-
raped if they're high.
Yes, but keeping them in this system will let them not be drug addicts anymore. It will let them
Okay,
continue
so
to
your
have
view
stability
is that
so that they can
we
go to
should
rehab.
just accept a system where we have government paying for rape
We should
chronically.
build a system that doesn't do that long term. Build a better system long term. But we have sex workers that exist now that need help. And I don't think
And
they should
therefore,
be
the
denied.
best way to help
I
them
don't think
is
they
for
should
them
be.
to get raped more.
They're already getting raped. I want to increase their living conditions. I want to increase their working standards.
Sure,
I want
that's
them
a
to get.
really good argument for UBI. It's a really good argument.
Yes, it is.
for-
It is also a really good
Sure,
argument
sure,
for.
sure.
No,
I'm a
no, 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 no,
progressive. You
no, no,
want
no,
to
no.
give me a
You just keep
lecture
putting
about why
words
we
in my
should
mouth.
right. I agree.
Can you
The point is,
not put
it's
words
not
in
an
my mouth
argument
for once?
to say the government should pay for them to get chronically raped.
You're putting words in my mouth.
You just said
They're currently getting chronically raped.
Sure.
This will increase their living standard. This will reduce the amount of rape. This will give them more
you
choice.
just said that they shouldn't have drug
Man, you
tests.
never fucking listen to me. You literally don't.
Visora,
I know
just
that they're
said-
on drugs. I know that that is rape. I agree.
Okay.
I agree that that is bad. But
So maybe the government should pay for it.
maybe the system will reduce it, because what you're advocating for is, if I don't want to pay for it, then you're just going to let these people die on the street. You're going to let them get trafficked. You're okay with them getting raped even more. That is what you're saying. That is what you're arguing. Your argument is that these people should get raped more.
Sure. Shockingly enough, there are multiple options available. The options are not strictly let this woman get
Obviously.
raped or let her die on the street. Those are not the only options.
Those are
There's
the
a
options
third
you keep
option
saying,
out
though.
there,
Those are
which
the only
is
two
to not
options you keep
either
bringing up.
Kill her or rape her. That is an
Those
option.
are the only two options you keep bringing up.
Visora, you're the one who just said that there shouldn't be any law that says that, hey, if you're high as a kite on crack cocaine,
Literally
you can't
never said
consent.
I actually said the opposite if you were listening. I said,
You didn't. You said there shouldn't be drug tests.
Can you just shut the fuck up for 5 minutes? I said
Let
there
her
shouldn't be
finish.
drug tests for the current population of escorts. We should introduce systems so that new people, after we implement this, do have to do that. But
Okay.
the current population of people on the street.
No, she clarified
What
her.
do you
She clarified her position.
No,
when
how do
I was asking you,
no. How do I prove that I'm a new person?
What the fuck do you mean? You just applied.
I
We opened the program and we opened it up to applications.
Sure.
Whoever applies doesn't get drug tested.
Okay.
And then that finishes, and then you apply for a job. You're the new
finish
person.
my question.
I literally answered your fucking question.
You didn't, because you didn't understand what the question was even. The question is this. Okay. Let's take a breather. Let's go. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
We're good. We're stretching. What a good stretch. A high quality stretch. It's stretch time.
Yeah, high quality stretch is good.
Chat should also stretch. Okay. We're prepared.
Yes. I am having fun, by the way, so thank you for this.
I am too. Okay.
Okay, good. My page.
All right.
back to rape. Go ahead.
Okay. There's a person who's currently on the street, who's currently working as a prostitute in America, right? You make her system, and they say, I'm currently working on the street. I don't want to do your drug test, but I do want to get paid by the government to have sex, which the government knows really, because I look like I'm high as a kite, knows that it's rape, but the government is going to say, whatever, we're still going to pay you. Okay. That happens month one.
For month
right?
one, yes. Month one, yes.
Month one.
Month one,
Okay.
yes. But
Okay.
again, there's
Now,
gonna be more into that. No, hold on. Just let me add into just one sentence. That's not it, though. That's all I'm gonna say. That's not where this ends.
Sure. Okay. Now it's month 3,
Mhm.
and a different person comes up and says, "Hey, I'm a prostitute. I don't want to do your drug test because I already work on the street," and they're also going to get paid. Okay. But this person is actually, they just turned 18. And they say, the reason that I didn't do it earlier is because I was 17. And I was working the street when I was 17, but I didn't publicize it, right? Because blah, 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 there's laws, right? Presumably even you support the laws where like under 18, you aren't allowed to be a drug addicted. I'm glad that you're opposed to drug addicted 17-year-olds getting raped chronically. Golf clap. Okay. So, yeah, golf clap. Okay. So, therefore, now I too am not getting drug tested because I've claimed that I used to already be working previously. There's no proof ever that I wasn't previously working on the street. So when is the point where across the board there are drug tests?
First of all, actually, you brought up a good point. That isn't what I had originally said, but I'm going to edit what I said now, because what I had said was you open the program up. Originally, what I said was you open the program up, anyone who applies can get in, and then anyone after has to get drug tested. But I'm actually going to change that. This example that you gave of this 18-year-old, she can still work, but she doesn't get sent to sex jobs. She gets sent to jobs where her job is to like talk. Her job is to hug. Her job is to just hang out. Her job is to like in the qualification of this job.
Just a friend.
If the John wants to have sex with her, then he is doing something wrong because that is not in the scope of her job description. Her job description is to be a friend, is to like teach this person how to.
If you're not having sex, are you doing sex work? I don't think so. Right?
Well, we clarified this earlier because I said that this should be more than sex.
So if you're saying you want a jobs guarantee, the government should have a jobs guarantee, okay, where you work on building bridges and shit. Okay, we've had that before in our country, and I was a big fan of the jobs guarantee. Big fan. Okay, the difference is the way that jobs guarantees generally work is that they're jobs building bridges and working for USAID and for AmeriCorps and Habitat for Humanity and that kind of shit. It's different than being a drug-addled, chronically raped prostitute, right?
Yes.
Not the same. Okay, so the question is this. Government prostitutes, you said, should be able to reject clients. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. What happens when they all reject? What happens if I'm just a hella creepy and disgusting and horrible person and literally none of the government prostitutes want to have sex with me?
That would be true.
I'm Wick.
It's not
I'm Wick, the interrupting cow. Yeah.
That's not how social, like, that's not how these things work. Now, let's say we get to that further extreme. There will be somebody in that group of workers who will say, fuck it, I'll take the L because it's better than any of you having to do it. I'm the least bothered by it. It's like someone who, I don't know, becomes a soldier and goes overseas to risk their life because they think it is good for the people back home, whether they're right or wrong.
Sex soldier, but yeah, go ahead.
Well, no, but it's the same idea of this is going to harm me, but benefit more people than the harm to me.
I'll take that dick
and
for
can
you
make that choice.
so that you don't have
They
to.
can make that choice. Someone will make that choice. There is no instance where nobody will say, like, everyone will say, no, fuck that. But even if you get to that point, like, there are other things you can still do.
Hold up, just made a claim.
You just
made a claim. Okay, you just made the claim that there's no one. There will never be any person who this is true. If you're willing to pay $1,000 for the sexual experience, or whatever it is, there's going to be someone who's willing to take it. But empirically, it is not true that at $0 everyone is able to get sex.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So if empirically it is true
again.
If empirically it is true at $0 that not everyone can get sex,
Mm-hmm.
which seems to be your whole claim, right? Then empirically, presumably, there exist men who no woman is willing to have sex with at $1,000, right?
Yes.
So should we give her $10,000? How about $30,000? Where's the end?
There are systems you can implement, that being one of them, increasing financial incentive being one. Two, you can refer this person to a psychologist first. Say, hey, you don't meet the criteria for this program, but here's a program that will help you meet the criteria for this program. For I believe in bureaucracy.
But they
I
do meet the
believe in
criteria. That's why they're being in
well,
this
yes,
That's why
hypothetical, they are
but
being
there's an
recommended. They meet the
they meet the
criteria. If I may finish,
criteria.
they meet the criteria. It's medically necessary, right? You go, you put it in the program. They go through the process. Turns out they get turned down at the price point that the initially that was offered. The question is, how much do you increase that? And is there a cap where you say, okay, we're not increasing this anymore?
I don't think that it necessarily needs to be that way. Take, for example, a different thing. This is actually a personal experience. I have fibromyalgia. My doctor sent me to a chiropractor. I go to the chiropractor says, no, you're like, this isn't going to work. Like, I can't help you here. You need to go to a physio first and then come back to me after. And so I went to the physio and then I went to the chiro after. You can have that referral to the place and the place say, the doctor, the general physician is not an expert. They send you to the program. The program says, well, you're not quite qualified, but here's something that you can do instead, and then you can come back here afterward.
But the qualification in this case, the reason they're not qualified in this case is because no one wants them.
Yeah, because
they're an uggo.
Yeah, they're
fucking
boy.
Look, I don't
They're
even
Japanese.
really think that ugliness is the issue here. I don't think
okay, ugly on the inside or outside, it doesn't matter, right?
No. It's not even about that. It's not even about that. It's about the hygiene.
It's about
they're stinky. It's self-respect. Yeah. They need a therapist first.
Nobody wants to fuck them. They're gross.
Exactly. And I think that both therapy and this system can work hand in hand.
Okay,
not everyone is that gross. Not everyone is that. Now, are there
not everyone needs to pay for sex? I agree. Not everyone has to pay for sex at all, in general.
A lot of people do, though. And the people that are getting paid for sex, as you agreed, are getting raped.
Raping someone.
Yes, I agree. Now, would you like to use some harm reduction or not?
I do want to do harm reduction. What harm reduction
seem like
looks
because you keep. What does harm reduction look like to you, please?
Sorry. What harm reduction looks like is decreasing the level of sexism in our society. It looks like trying to ensure that women have more options at the bottom rung. It looks like jobs guarantees. It looks like the kinds of progressive stuff that I actually believe in, but seemingly you only believe in so long as they're also diddling the balls of the fucking upper middle class.
Come on, I'm further left than you. First of all, I'm literally a libertarian socialist. I don't believe in. I think that the government should regulate anything that you do as long as you are not.
Does not mean that you are further left than me.
I don't think that the government should have a say in what you do with your life as long as you are not interfering. Shut the fuck up for 5 seconds. As long as you are not interfering with the ability of somebody else to live their life. Now, money is the problem here, and violence is the problem here. Violence and money. As you just said, everything that you laid out, the harm reduction techniques of giving people job guarantees, reducing sexism in our society, all of those are what this does. This has been implemented in several parts of the world and has reduced misogyny, has reduced isolation and depression, has reduced domestic violence as well as rape, has reduced diseases, and has normalized intimacy. This has happened in the Netherlands, in Belgium, and Germany. Trafficking is still a problem there because those are underfunded programs. This happened in New Zealand, which significantly increased the communication between the community, the stigma around sex work, the complaints from the community regarding it, all of that. Significant reduction, as well as physical harm. Again, people don't have let's say you're the sex worker and you go home to your husband. if your husband is working a full-time job and can barely afford like food and rent, and you are also working a full-time job and can barely afford food and rent because you're both working minimum wage, that woman is much more likely to be domestically assaulted.
Do you believe in laws about you can't lock the door to the factory so that people aren't able to leave for their bathroom break?
Yes.
Is that an acceptable law to have?
Yes. Because that interferes with the process of someone living their life.
Okay. What do you mean it interferes with their process of them living their lives?
I mean, okay, let's clarify this down to capitalism off of like my libertarian
Yeah,
socialism.
I'm saying
yes.
assume capitalism.
I still think it's bad.
Because capitalism does exist, right?
Yes.
We
Still
agree
bad.
that capitalism exists?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
So
still bad,
capitalism is a thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that we accept that capitalism is a thing.
We have for a while.
Okay, cool. If capitalism is a thing, is it better to exist under a capitalist system in which it is illegal or not illegal for me to shtup my maid?
To what? Sorry, I didn't hear that.
To shtup my maid, to have sex with my maid.
Okay, I was like, what the fuck does that mean? But fair enough.
I was
okay.
like, what is stripping? If she consents to it.
Wait, do non-Jews not say shtup?
I've never said shtup.
Okay. You should say shtup. Shtup is a great word. Continue.
I don't even like it. I think I might pick that up. I mean, I'm not Jewish.
It's a good word. It's a solid word.
Would that be cultural appropriation?
Appropriate my culture. Yes, it would be cultural appropriation, and I'm fully in support of it. Appropriate my culture. Yeah. Should it be legal for me to shtup my maid?
If she wants to. Yes. If she consents, even like
there should
again,
be no,
under the system that we live in, just to clarify, because we've done this a few times, I understand that coercion is a thing, but I don't think that qualifies in the decision making because that coercion is not going anywhere. By removing,
you know what else isn't going anywhere?
How about safety standards?
It's conversation.
How about safety standards? Are you in support of safety standards?
Absolutely. Regulation, absolutely. Safety standards.
Okay. Only for physical safety, though, not for emotional safety. There's no emotional safety standards?
No, there is.
Okay. How about as an emotional safety standard? How about as an emotional safety standard, you are not allowed in the factory as the boss to slap the ass of one of your workers? Is that a good emotional safety standard? Doesn't it violate your physical safety? It's an emotional safety issue. Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
In terms of the emotional safety of my maid, should it be illegal from an emotional safety perspective of my maid, given that she works alone in my household, and I'm a scary 6'1" man, right? To make a rule that I'm not allowed to ask my maid while she's on the clock for sex?
Well, then yes.
That should be a law.
That should not be a I don't like whether or not it should be a law. I don't like the idea of like it all needing to be law separately. This can all be one law. Rape is illegal. But you're saying that this is different from just generally raping somebody. You are raping. You're like Harvey Weinstein in this instance. You are describing like an instance of a Harvey Weinstein, someone who holds the other person's job in their hand and can ruin their life if they say no. You can make her homeless. You can give her no money. You can assault her because she's alone in your house. That is why it's wrong. And it is already rape and assault. You don't need a specific law to make that specifically illegal.
Okay. The goal of laws
already illegal.
Harm. The goal of laws is to reduce harm, right?
Yes.
There is harm associated with the slapping of the ass of the woman at my doctor's office.
That's already illegal. I agree with that being illegal. The maid bit, the doctor's office one I forgot. Sorry, the slapping the ass bit.
The slapping the ass, sure. That's illegal.
Never forget slapping the ass, but
that one's illegal.
You should never forget.
It's already illegal. It's sexual harassment.
Okay, cool. It's sexual harassment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Why?
Because it is a person in a position of power. Again, this is the factory worker, right? Like this is your factory and this is your
We're getting close.
Or a manager or something. Yeah, position of power that you hold control over this person's life, their money, their job, their livelihood. You hold control.
Yes, I control control. Good. I tell them they don't want to be told, but I tell them they have to stay after for an extra 30 minutes. Right? Because we're in the middle of fucking, like, we work on a construction site and there's a bunch of wet concrete and we need to get the concrete into place. And if it's not into place, then we're all screwed and we like mess up the job. So I say, sorry, bud, you have to stay an extra 30 minutes to finish this concrete job. Okay. is that the same? Because they don't want to do it, but I'm making them do it, and I'm holding for ransom their ability to get paid. Is that the same as slapping them in the ass?
No.
No, it's not degrees.
It's literally your job. It's literally your job. It is part of your job. You should pay them overtime. It's illegal to not pay them overtime.
Yes, I agree. But if there's a difference in kind between one and the other, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Even if I pay them extra, I'm like, hey, sweetheart, I love your butt. I'm gonna pay you an extra 25% if I get to slap your butt. Okay?
That's not part of her job. It's not part of her job description.
It's not part of her
job
description to clean up the vomit.
Yes, it is.
I am a lawyer
yes, it
at
is.
the law factory.
Okay.
No, yes,
I am a lawyer at the law factory. Okay? As a lawyer at the law factory, there is no part of my job description that says, Quibbles, you must clean up the throw up on the floor of the law factory.
That's not true,
part of my job description.
Not true. That's not true. Because if you work in a factory, part of your job description is to keep your workplace clean and tidy. Generally,
I'm a lawyer.
Let me ask this.
If
Let
you're
me
in a
ask
factory,
this. You guys are talking past each other again.
Look,
and
if
you're
you
getting
work
stuck on a
okay,
point.
Let me clarify this one little point. If you work in a job in any room, if you vomit on the floor, it's your job to clean it. You're at work. It's on the clock.
Fair enough, though. You're correct, right? She's just correct here. Like that's just part of a lot of job descriptions. It might not be. The question
it's not part of every job description. To be crystal clear, there are lots of jobs
at hand. The actual interesting question here, and this is for both of you, but primarily for Vasora, is if it was made part of the job description going in, and they knew it was part of the job description going in, it was made clear that, hey, if you work here at this law firm, we're going to slap you in the ass sometimes. Would that be okay? Would there be anything wrong with that, morally speaking?
Okay, morally speaking.
Yes.
Well, I mean, yes, but there's a lot wrong with all of that, morally speaking. Let's
setting aside capitalism.
Bring it off of morals. Right. I wasn't talking about capitalism. I was talking about other systems of like the economy.
What is wrong with that? Can you describe why you have a moral issue?
I think it should be okay. I just don't think that it's like. I think it should be legal. I just don't think it should be. I'm not talking about legal.
I'm talking about moral. Right? You think it's immoral. I'm trying to ask you why you think that's immoral.
Because it's exploitative. That's why. Because it's intentionally exploitative. And yes, people will knowingly and willingly and consentingly take that job, and it will still be exploitative. I'm not even arguing that this the sex workers healthcare system isn't exploitative. I'm not arguing that. I'm not arguing this is a silver bullet. I'm arguing that this is a harm reduction step that would have to be built on top of multiple other things, that multiple other functions need to be built around this. This is just step one. This is baby steps into solving little bits of problems here and there. Again, the ability for a woman to have job security enough to leave her domestic violence situation at home, because
I'm not quite following. So your answer,
let's say,
was to the question of whether or not it should be allowed to be put into the contract that I am allowed to slap you in the ass while you work at a law firm. Your answer was,
I think you should be allowed to do that, but I think
that should be allowed to be in my contract. Okay, now let's go back to physical safety, because clearly that's a standard that we have built into our system governmentally that you oppose, and that is about protecting people's emotional health and about protecting people's capacity as women to operate in the workforce, right? You don't believe in that as a safety standard. Okay, how about physical safety standards now? Back to physical safety standards. You said earlier,
twisting it again, but
that's an emotional safety standard.
Yes,
there's a reason.
I know.
Okay, so the emotional safety standard, you say that as long as I agree in my contract to go back on that emotional safety standard, it's fine to not have that emotional safety standard. So now my question is
symptoms. I'm trying to treat the cause.
Okay. Without fixing capitalism, which I know you have a problem.
It's not capitalism that I'm trying to fix. It's not that.
What are you trying to fix?
I'm trying.
What are you trying to fix?
male loneliness, female loneliness, the
Okay,
idea of
so then,
communication, community, the idea of people that get
that's all right.
exploited on the street. Your point, the 70% of
The
women
existing
getting
society
raped
that
doing
exists.
sex work. That's who I'm trying to protect here. Because yes,
Okay.
they are still exploited when it's under the government. But there
Okay.
are more protections, more systems for them to get out of this job and get a different job and to get off of drugs. Included in
Okay.
this. All of this affects that.
When we exist in the system in which we operate,
Hmm.
I think it is better to make it illegal to have something in your contract that says I'm allowed to drop my pants in the middle of the workday and say, you
Yes,
suck my dick
I think
before
that
we
this is
continue
horrible. Okay,
as part of our
think
job.
let me clarify that again because I answered that question in regards
Okay.
to like my own personal ideology of less regulation on how you behave, more regulation just on businesses. In our current material conditions that we engage with, this is already illegal, and I don't want to make it legal. I don't want to make that
Okay.
legal. It's
You don't
already
want to make it
illegal.
legal.
No, I don't want to
Okay.
make that legal. You're
Good.
giving me
I'm
examples
glad.
hypothetically. Yeah. I think in my
Good.
perfect society, you don't need the government regulating how you behave interpersonally. I think we should just be
Okay.
regulating business.
So
But in
I'm
our current
asking.
context, this is
Okay.
Okay,
already
I'm
So
illegal.
going
I'm
to
asking.
interrupt both of you
No,
right
no,
now
no,
to
no,
let you
no,
know
no,
that we
please let
have
me
a
finish this.
time
Please
limit
let me
here.
finish this.
We've already run over time, so
Okay, but please.
you better get to the points.
Okay. The point is, you just described you're okay with there being a law that says you cannot, even if it's just slapping the ass, even if it's not sex, right? Slapping an ass is presumably not like, particularly if you're okay with a person
Sexual
slapping your ass.
harassment,
Yeah,
but like
fine.
if you're
It's
not,
sexual
yeah.
harassment. My point is, it's low-level sexual harassment in comparison to the high levels of work that might be expected of you in other
Mhm.
contexts, right? It is reasonable to have, if you're working in a law firm, an expectation that you spend a year and a half on a bunch of bullshit nonsense pushing papers that you don't like to do that might be more unpleasant than getting slapped in the ass one time. But it's reasonable because there's a difference in category between the slapping of the ass and all of that busy work. And so therefore, it's okay to say busy work, cool, but there's a categorical difference because
Yes.
sex is categorically different than is that busy work, than is cleaning up the vomit, than is
Yes.
all of this bullshit that is associated
Yes.
with I have to be the third AD or whatever the fuck it is for the movie for 15 years before I'm allowed to be a director instead of sleeping with a director.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. Still continuing. I'm with you. I
Okay,
don't
so
disagree with
sex
you
is
here.
categorically different.
Yes, I have been saying
Okay,
this as
so
well.
if sex is okay, cool. So if sex is categorically different, then maybe we shouldn't be understanding it as something that's perfectly permissible to treat as though it's the exact same in the context of our legal system, and as though it is entirely the same in the context of what we should be doing in terms of healthcare. Obviously,
The reason for a lot of these issues is because of this very large distinction we put around sex. We make it this whole special thing that's different. I want to
you just said
normal.
it's different.
It is. It is. Listen to me. It already is. I want to change that. I don't think
Okay,
it
so in
should
your
be.
good,
Great.
so in your
Are you
perfect,
gonna
We
wait,
have.
please. So
We don't
good.
have. We
literally
don't have
answer?
10 more hours. We have
I'm
In your
trying to
about
answer a
20 more
question.
minutes before I'm done with this, and I
Okay.
got to read super chats and everything.
In your perfect system, would it be in your perfect system, not the system we exist in currently, but in your perfect system, would it be acceptable for me as a boss to write in the contract of my female employees, I get to slap you in the ass?
In my perfect system, you wouldn't be a boss of anybody because there would be no boss. But no, let's say in my perfect system under capitalism, no. I'm clarifying because people are going to clip me out of context. Like that shit happens. No and no.
Okay.
In both cases, no.
Beautiful. Let me read these super chats before I go insane,
Cool.
and then let's kind
Go
of
for it.
wind this down. I do have some questions, but it's
Yeah,
going to
sure.
be impossible to ask Visor questions and Quibbles questions at the same time. I've realized this. I've underestimated you both.
We can take turns.
We can take turns, yeah.
But
Put a stopwatch. Literally put a
no,
watch. Put a
what's going to
stopwatch
happen
like
is when
we're in
I
the-
want to ask a
Why not?
question, I'm going to ask a
60
question.
seconds?
And when I don't want to ask
60
a question,
seconds. Yeah, it'll be a chess clock. Let's do a chess clock. We each get 5 minutes total. You do a chess
I'm
clock. We get to like click the
not
little
doing
button.
that. If I don't get to ask my questions, I will remove the participant that has been an obstacle to asking my questions. That's what will happen. So here's what we do. $5 from Muffin Topical says, can quibbles state the difference between an independent prostitute and a porn actress, or are they both being assaulted?
I think that porn is a complicated subject. I think that often porn, and particularly the porn industry as it exists currently, particularly in the context of Pornhub, is very exploitative. I think that OnlyFans is less exploitative than is Pornhub, but I think that there is a broad problem with work in general that is sexual and in which, like, you as a sexed object is relevant to the capacity of you to do the work. But I don't think that all work in which you as a sexed object is relevant is the same as you getting penetrated in your holes.
$2 from another new account. Not joking, prostitution MOS for the military, for those of you who are unaware, would be based. No, it would not. $2 for Fates. How does opt-in system force anyone to do anything? And thank you for the $2. Appreciate you guys. And thank you for the subs on Twitch. I do appreciate that. If you guys want to, if for whatever reason you're liking this content, please like the stream. Please follow me. Right?
Like this content.
Right. If you're enjoying this conversation, by all means, please. And continue super chat.
I'm really glad that you're having a good time. Like I'm glad.
Yeah, no, I agree. You also.
I'm glad someone is. Okay, but here's what we're gonna do. Here's what we're gonna do, right? Because we're going to go to closings, but we're not going to end the stream. But I want to close out the conversation, official debate, and then I want to get to some questions I had about the topic at hand. So that's what we're going to do. And if you need to leave, you can leave. You're not prisoners here. This isn't coercive, right? Just go. And if callers want to call in, depending on my mood, you can come jump backstage in my Discord. And if you have questions for either of these participants or me, as long as you want to stay, we'll keep going. That's what we're going to do. So I'm going to give Visora the first chance, and she's not going to be interrupted. And then Quibbles is going to go, and once Quibbles goes, he's not going to be interrupted. And please, there's a link to the description of each of these individuals in my YouTube description, right? There's a link to the channel, I should say, in my YouTube description. Click on that link, give them a follow. They took the time out of their day to be part of my show. Give them a reward. Subscribe to the channel, follow their channel, whatever they need. Visora, closing thoughts on this, and then we'll get to Quibbles. Go ahead.
Look, closing thoughts on this, I'm going to keep really short and simple. This isn't about sex work. Sex work is part of it, but it's much more than that. It's about creating a safer, healthier community, a compassionate society. It's about harm reduction. It's about reducing damage done to people's lives using evidence-based solutions that are not necessarily perfect and do need to be improved, do need to be built on, but are still currently better than the systems that we have, and will have a lot of side effects that don't interact generally with healthcare nor sex, but are some of the root causes of violence, stigma, misogyny, and overall having a system like this in place, regulated and done properly, with controls around abuse, as we've discovered and discussed, would benefit the entire community. That's it. My closing arguments.
Thank you for being here. Really appreciate you. Quibbles, go ahead.
Okay. I believe in safety standards. I believe in safety standards for physical safety. And I also believe in safety standards for emotional safety and for social safety. It is dangerous and bad when we have a system in which women are reduced to sexed objects. And I don't want that to be a fact of our work environment. I don't want that to be a fact of our culture. To the degree that prostitution is being wielded towards that end, I think it's bad. I also think to the degree that prostitution is being used as a way to rape women's bodies, that is bad. We already got from Visora the agreement that 70+% of prostituted sex in the context of the United States currently
you were right
is rape. I'm sorry?
I was saying you were right the first time.
You interrupted me. How dare you interrupt me? Never
agreed with you.
I was no. Even to agree, you can never interrupt.
You guys can't stop. You're literally incapable. You're children.
No, I'm furious. No. I was perfect. I was silent the entire time because I'm a great person.
I'm sorry, I couldn't help. I was just
You're doing it again, Visora. No, stop.
This proves that Visora is wrong because Visora was an interrupting person, and that is evil. I rest my case. Thank you.
God, this was something. Gang, I'll give my closing thoughts as well. Look, I think I could agree with Basora that there is a lot of problems with loneliness, lack of intimacy, sexism, misogyny, etc. in the world. I simply don't think her proposed solution will fix any of that, and in some ways it might make it worse. Could there be some benefits to the system? Perhaps, but I think the externalities of adding, of normalizing, right, much in the same way that OnlyFans and having sex work and OnlyFans normalized on Twitch and in YouTube has normalized men asking women content creators for access to their sex work page, their OnlyFans page, etc. And it makes a lot of women uncomfortable, and a lot of women don't want to be in this space and don't want to be in an environment where that is normalized. I think that the government putting its seal and stamp of approval on sex work in general is going to have a similar effect on just, again, the normalization of it in general in society. Right now, I think it's a good thing that we stigmatize a man going up to a woman and asking, "Hey, baby, how much?" I think it's good that that's stigmatized. I think it's good that people view that as repulsive, harassment, etc. And I worry, my fear is that implementing this system in America will have that effect. And that's my closing thoughts. Do you guys mind if I bring a caller in?
Bring in a caller. I'm fully on board.
Okay.
Bring in your caller.
I'll do one and then I gotta go.
Bring a caller in?
Oh, yeah, you gotta
What's
mute the
up?
stream, buddy. You're live.
Hey, what's going on?
Okay, what
Give
you
me
got
a
for
sec.
us? You got questions?
We can hear you.
Over. So, I was thoroughly curious. You guys have been kind of conversating back and forth for a little while. It didn't seem like we were hitting the debate point, but I got stuck up on one particular part. You guys were talking a lot about whether something was coercion or not, and I feel like a lot of this stops for me there. Most of it, from my own perspective, I feel like is more compliance, if anything else. I think the worst case scenario would be coercion, in which women are forced in by one of your examples, well, examples both of you gave, drugs, for instance. In many cases, financial support. These are things that we already know pimps will do. But beyond that, I think a majority of cases are compliance. They will get something from it, an offer is given to them, and they voluntarily comply to that. What I'm curious about is where we're getting the negative connotation from that. We already know that a lot of these people don't probably have very many other options, and the options that they do choose from, this is one of them. If we want to negate this as one of those options, then having some form of safety for these women is kind of paramount. It's necessary.
So I believe in the broad point that you're making there is that, like, we shouldn't be taking away least bad options from people who are desperately impoverished. And I agree with you, broadly speaking, that we should not be taking away least bad options from the desperately impoverished. The caveat to that is that there are certain things that I do not believe in aggregate that people can consent to. So one of those is physical safety standards. So I'm curious, I posed it to Sora, but I'll pose it to you as well. Do you think that the laws that we have on the books that say that there are certain physical safety standards that we have in the workforce, in the workplace, should we get rid of those, or do you think those are appropriate to have physical safety standards?
I think it's appropriate for us to have those, yes.
Okay, why is physical safety standards acceptable, but emotional safety standards are not acceptable?
I don't think this is a question about whether or not it is emotionally necessary. There's a lot of things.
Emotional safety. So I want to clarify what I mean now. I'm sorry, I was imprecise. Emotional safety standards. By that I mean things like you're not allowed to ask certain questions of your people. You are not allowed to ask them about, like, what are their religion, and, like, pressure them about their religious worldview, or pressure them about their racial background or about their religious background, right?
Understood.
So similarly, you're not allowed to pressure them towards the end of sex, right? Even asking the question, can you mow my lawn, is perfectly acceptable. I can ask my employee whether or not they're willing to mow my lawn, and maybe they'll say no. I cannot ask, even off the clock, hey, will you suck my dick? I'll do it as a separate thing on the side, has nothing to do with your job, but on the side, will you suck my dick? Right?
That statement right there is where we disagree. I think
Okay.
that point is coming from the idea that that I'm asking you to do this, but this is my job. It is a difference, like you were saying before multiple times. It's in your job description that you
So what
sleep.
I'm saying is, it's not in your job description to mow my lawn. I mean, my personal,
No,
like my
but
personal,
it is in a
like my
prostitute's
house.
job description to have
But
sex
I'm
with.
saying, yeah. So I'm asking, like, you work for me at Subway, and I am slightly, well, I'm not crazy rich, but I'm slightly richer than you are because I'm the head of the Subway.
Yeah.
And I say, hey, I will pay you $50 this weekend to come mow my lawn.
Mm-hmm.
Down for it, right? I think it's acceptable. Whether you agree to it or not, I think it's acceptable for me to ask, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think it's acceptable for me to be like, hey, you work for me at the Subway, $100, suck my dick this weekend. You up for it? I don't think that's acceptable.
Okay. Yet again, you're talking about something in a hypothetical that I'm going to refer to in reality. Your job
To
is
be clear,
to
both of those are very much reality. Both of those things
so
definitely
your
happen in
job.
real life.
Let me finish.
Yeah.
Your job is to have sex.
Gang.
So when I pull up on a woman in a corner and you come up to my car when I roll down the window, these are the things that you do to let me know what your job is, and that I do to let you know what I'm looking for. When I present to you, hey, I would like for you to give me this service for this amount of money, there's nothing wrong with that because it's your
But
job.
there is something wrong with that.
Okay. I'm going to put a pin in this because I got to go. I love you all.
Yeah.
Gang, tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to be having Not So Erudite, Katusha. We're going to be having Sad Kit Kat and Kirby Phone. And we're going to be, it's an all-woman panel, and we're going to be talking about what it's like to be a woman online. They're going to be sharing experiences, like what challenges that are unique to them do they face, what potential benefits do they have as women online that they might benefit from. It should be a fun discussion, a good discussion. I hope you all join me for that. And yeah, so we're going to end. Is anyone here still streaming after this?
I'm still streaming on mine, but I just want to say thank you for having me on, and thank you to your
Yeah.
audience, and thank you to
Good to meet you.
Quibbles. Again, this was an excellent debate. I'd love to debate you again on something else. If you have something, let me know.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I hope you all have a lovely.
Visora, real quick,
what's up?
I would love to actually like hear what your opinion is. Is there any other
Sure.
place that I can do I have to just go to your Twitch, or can I talk to you in the Hangout? What's up?
You can jump onto my Twitch if you want to. It's I'll link it in. Which chat would I link it in here? This one. There we go.
General is fine.
Actually, it should be linked in the video description, but
Yeah, I'll just go read out to Visora. But I'll see you guys later. And again, tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern. I love you all. Thanks for being here. Wait, but bye, everyone. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Have a good one.
Give it like a second.